The story begins with a boy named Rakuro as he defeats an enormous boss monster. The sky's clear, and the Princess Feria praises him, but he suddenly jumps into the air, smashing her in the face, and telling her that she can also go to hell. The credits roll, and we see he was playing a VR game called Feria Chronicle. Rakuro celebrates his victory, and we learn that he's a guy who only likes to play trash games. VR games are the most common games now, but there were a ton of games that were made while the technology was developing, and many turned out to be trash. Rakuro gets some air, and he feels like a convict who's finally free after clearing the game, but he wonders what he should play next. At school, we see a girl named Rei practicing how to talk to Rakuro. She waits for him to walk past, but one of his friends gets to him first, and she gets left behind. At the local game shop, the owner Mana is excited for the summer break, hoping it will bring a boost to her business. Rei visits the shop, but Mana tells her that Rakuro isn't there. Rei gets embarrassed and tells Mana that she's just there to look at the games and nothing else, but Mana knows her secret and tells her that Rakuro hasn't been there in a while because he's been busy trying to crack an extra special trash game. She explains that the game is infamous because of its terrible AI, insane enemy attack patterns, as well as being filled with bugs, and she notes that the final boss must be cleared in a mask and shorts. As the two are talking, Rakuro walks into the store, asking if there are any new games for him, and suddenly Rei disappears. Mana is surprised he already beat the game, and he starts telling her about it, saying that the princess was the source of all his problems. She would constantly cause chaos and get his party members killed, and if he ever tried to confront her, she would just refuse to move, and he would become stuck for hours. Mana can't believe he didn't give up, but Rakuro notes that in the final 3 minutes of the game after defeating the final boss, he's free to beat the crap out of her without getting into trouble, saying it was all worth it in the end. He wonders what he can play next to get the same high, but Mana suggests that he should try playing a game that isn't trash for once, telling him to try Shangri-La Frontier, also known as SLF, the most popular VR MMO, with over 30 million players. He isn't sure about it at first, but Mana tells him he needs to experience what a good game is like, so he can better appreciate his trash games. Rakuro decides to check it out, and we learn that the game is considered God tier. It's made by the Utopia Entertainment Software Company, which was founded by the genius programmer Tsukuyo Tsukuri, so Rakuro has high hopes for the game. As soon as he starts the game, Rakuro's first task is to create a character and pick a job. He picks the Twin Blade Mercenary for its flexibility, and he chooses Wanderer as his origin, which gives him a bonus to his luck. Rakuro ends up making his character wear a bird mask, so he could hide his face since he's half naked. In this game, weapons are expensive, but it's possible to sell the starter equipment to make a profit. He names his character Sanraku, and he finally starts playing the game. He opens his eyes in a forest, and he is instantly impressed, because it feels as if he's moving in real life. He runs and climbs up a tree in order to test his character's agility, and he can finally feel the difference between this game and a trash game like Feria. Rakuro opens his map and he wonders why he didn't start at a tutorial town to begin with. It turns out that those who choose Wanderer as their origin start at a random location in the starting zone. He decides to head to the starting town, and he checks his stats along the way. He realizes he has low defense since he has no armor, but hopes his high luck stat will make up for it. He is suddenly attacked by a goblin, so he summons his twin blades to fight. The goblin charges at him, but he defeats it without breaking a sweat. He levels up to level 2, and he gets his hands on the goblin's axe. He gets distracted by something behind the bushes, and a monster bunny suddenly tries to attack him. The attack just misses, and it destroys the tree behind him. Rakuro thinks he would have died if he got hit, and the bunny attacks him again, but he manages to block it and even land a critical hit. The bunny doesn't give up, but Rakuro isn't impressed, because it's only aiming for his neck, which makes it too easy to predict. Rakuro levels up straight to level 4, and he learns the flash counter skill. He continues fighting other monsters in the forest, and after farming the bunnies for over 2 hours, he manages to obtain 2 of their swords. He ends up reaching level 12, and he puts most of his points into luck. He realizes he can't level up anymore in this area, so he decides to head over to the second town. As he heads over, he reaches a bridge he must cross, but it's guarded by a giant serpent boss. The game suggests that he fight it with a party of 3, but Rakuro just charges in. Meanwhile, in the starting town, the people are amazed when they see a knight wearing super high-level armor. The people wonder why someone so high-level is in the town, and we hear from her voice that she's a girl. She's there looking for Rakuro, but she doesn't see anyone with his name, which she finds strange, because all new players should start in that town. When she logs out, we see that it was Rei that was looking for him, and she's disappointed she couldn't find him. Back with Rakuro, he rushes at the snake. He decides to watch its attack patterns, and just dodge to begin with. He realizes that its movements are pretty easy to read, because it's just a starting boss. He thinks he can defeat it without taking a single hit, but when he tries to attack it, his blade is broken. He brings out his 2 special Vorpal blades, but when he tries to attack, it shoots venom at him. When he checks his status, Rakuro learns that he's been poisoned, and will take a point of damage every 10 seconds. He realizes that he only has about 4 minutes to beat the boss, so he thinks he'll need to rely on his critical hits. He has learned that in this game, criticals aren't just random, but are triggered when an attack lands in an ideal way, or hits an enemy's weak point. Rakuro determines that the snake's weak point is its head, but he finds it hard to land a hit on it. He changes up his attack, using his screw pierce skill on its body. He attacks the wound that he made, and he's able to trigger his critical hits. He keeps slashing, but he doesn't really know if he can beat it, because he doesn't even know how much HP it has. But he ends up landing a hit on the boss's eye, and he takes it out. Before he can check out his loot, he realizes he's still taking damage from the poison, so he rushes toward the town to look for an antidote. Meanwhile at the town, there are 2 players, Reiji and Mia, that are just outside. Reiji is glad that he's finally playing the game with his crush after 3 months of trying, but they see Rakuro running towards them, and Mia gets ready to attack him thinking he's a monster. Reiji points out that he has a name, so he must be a player, and he realizes that Rakuro must have been hit by the serpent's poison, so he points out the inn, where Rakuro can register his respawn point, but he must do it by getting into the bed. He dives into his room, and he manages to register his respawn point, but he still ends up dying to the poison. When he gets back in the game, he starts exploring the town, looking for a shop where he can buy maps and recovery items. He thinks about getting a new weapon to replace his twin blades, but he soon realizes that the people are staring at him since he's half naked, so he buys the cheapest set of clothes he can find. He then visits a weapon shop, but finds that his Vorpal blades are better than anything in the shop. The shopkeeper tells him that he can make him a better weapon, but he will need to find the materials. Rakuro immediately goes mining for ore in a muddy swamp, but becomes frustrated when he only gets 2 out of the 5 ores he needed, after trying for 30 minutes. A mud frog appears, and it annoys him as it splashes around. Rakuro knows that it's resistant to slashing damage, since his clothes are made from its skin, so he switches to his goblin axe, and he takes it out. After a few hours, Rakuro returns to the shop with all the materials for his new weapon. The man points out that he found a rare marsh fossil, and it can be used to make a rare dagger. Rakuro likes the idea, and leaves the task to the owner. Rakuro is excited as he checks out his new weapons, and the shopkeeper tells him that he can also upgrade the weapons, so he should come back when he has more materials. The man goes on to warn Rakuro about the monsters that come out during the night, suggesting he should get some better armor, but he just thinks it's the perfect chance to test out his new weapons. Meanwhile, Rei defeats the serpent boss with a single slash, and we learn she has searched the entire starting area for Rakuro, so she decides to check the second town. We see Rakuro fighting against a red-capped goblin, and he struggles against it, as it's not like any other goblin that he's fought before. The goblin calls for its friends, and Rakuro becomes surrounded. The goblins lunge at him, but there's suddenly a huge attack that wipes them all out, and an enormous wolf monster emerges. It's identified as a unique monster known as the Night Slayer, and Rakuro realizes that there's more to this game than he thought. Meanwhile, we see Rei as she meets Reiji and Mia, and they tell her about their encounter with Rakuro. Mia wants to attack her since she looks scary, but Reiji tells her she's also a player. Reiji describes Rakuro's character to Rei, and he tells her how he was poisoned, so he ran straight into the town. She gives the couple an item for their help, and she dashes off in an instant. Mia is impressed by her speed. and Reiji recognizes the crest on her back as the guild which specifically hunts the Night Slayer unique monster. He notes that there are said to be 7 unique monsters in the game, but it's unclear when these monsters appear, which led to many of the top players forming guilds to hunt them. Mia thinks they are just rare monsters, but Reiji notes they are insanely strong, and that even after a year of the game being released, and with over 30 million players, not a single unique monster has ever been defeated. We see Rakuro as he faces the Night Slayer. He knows he will die if he takes a single hit, but he manages to parry the monster's attack. He starts sweating thinking how close it was, but he's glad he learned the perfect parry skill while he was grinding. He switches to his Vorpal blades, which deal bonus critical damage, and he starts to counterattack. But the clouds cover the moonlight, and the wolf seems to disappear. The wolf lunges out at him, but he dodges all of its attacks. The wolf disappears once again, and Rakuro tries to predict where it will appear from. He manages to parry its attack, but he finds that its fur is even tougher than the scales of the serpent boss. After fighting and landing over 200 critical hits, Rakuro doesn't feel like he has done any damage at all. His weapons are on the verge of breaking, and he thinks it's impossible for him to win, but this just makes him enjoy the game even more. He tries to land an attack on the wolf's eye, but he ends up getting pushed away. The Night Slayer suddenly howls, and it seems to paralyze Rakuro's body. It disappears once again, and in an instant, Rakuro has his legs cut off. He has 1 HP left, but he thinks that it's all over for him. He thinks about how insanely strong the wolf is, but thinks its strength is just part of its programming, so there must be a way to defeat it. He decides that instead of clearing the game, he will find a way to defeat it no matter what it takes. Rakuro respawns at the inn, and he finds he has been cursed by the Night Slayer's mark. He finds that his body has been marked, and he's no longer able to equip items on his torso or legs. He thinks he's screwed, and he finds that the curse can only be removed by defeating the wolf. As he walks through the town, he starts thinking the game is trash, but he thinks about all the other trash games he's beaten, so he refuses to let this get the better of him. He checks his status, and finds that from just fighting the unique monster, he was able to level up to 28. He allocates his stat points, but realizes he has completely neglected his vitality stat, so he thinks he's a complete glass cannon, and with 2 of his armor slots sealed, he thinks he's doomed. He wishes that his high luck stat would give him good luck, and at that moment, a bunny suddenly bounces on his head. The bunny waves at him, so he starts chasing after it. Rakuro thinks it must be some kind of event where he can get a free item by catching it. He corners it in a dead end, but the bunny suddenly summons a door. The bunny gets away, and when Rakuro approaches the door, he finds that it's a unique scenario invitation from the Rabbit Country. Rakuro remembers reading about this online, that besides the main quest of the game, there are countless side quests, some of which come in the form of unique scenarios, but it's not clear how they are triggered. However, they are said to provide some of the best rewards, so there are even guilds which try to hunt for them. Rakuro gets excited thinking his luck is finally paying off, and we see he has entered a world filled with rabbits. The bunny from earlier welcomes him, introducing herself as Emil, and Rakuro is shocked that it can speak. She tells Rakuro that everyone has been talking about him, because he took on the Night Slayer by himself even though he was so weak. Rakuro thinks he didn't stand a chance, but Emil notes that the marking on his body is proof that the Night Slayer acknowledged him. Rakuro wonders if Emil really is an NPC since she talks so much, but he remembers that the curse mark also gives him bonus dialogue options. Emil starts leading him to meet her boss, and Rakuro worries they might want revenge since he hunted so many bunnies in the beginning, but Emil tells him not to worry. Emil brings him to the Rabbit Palace, and she tells him that he's the first person to ever visit. Rakuro gets excited hearing this, and he thinks his luck is finally turning around. He thinks he'll be able to get a unique reward, but his attitude completely changes as he comes face to face with the Rabbit King. Meanwhile at the game shop, Rei gets caught sneaking around, but Mana tells her that Rakuro isn't there. She thinks that since it's summer break, he would probably be spending all his time in the game. Rei mentions how she still hasn't been able to find him, but Mana tells her not to give up. At Rakuro's house, his sister Rumi heads out, while Rakuro looks up the forums about other people who have been to the Rabbit Country. He finds that they all just followed a quest to fight a snake boss, but no one has ever mentioned meeting the Rabbit King, so he thinks he has found something special. He thinks back to his meeting with the king, who introduces himself as Vash. He admires Rakuro's Vorpal soul, but Rakuro isn't sure what that means. The king offers to get him up to snuff, and Rakuro realizes it's a training quest. He immediately accepts, even calling the king his bro, but Vash starts to approach him menacingly. Rakuro thinks he said the wrong thing, but Vash actually takes a liking to him, and he orders Emil to take care of him. Emil is excited to show him around, but Rakuro says he's been playing for a while so he needs to take a break. As Vash is leaving, he gives Rakuro a collar which automatically equips. Upon examining the item, the collar seems to reduce his experience by half, but it overdoubles his stat points that he gets from leveling up. Rakuro tries to take it off, but Vash says it's impossible unless he allows it, saying hardship is necessary to get stronger. But Rakuro can't believe he has been given yet another restriction. As he thinks about the item, he realizes it's actually pretty overpowered. He realizes the time, and he remembers he had an appointment with his friend. He loads up a fighting game called Berserk Online, and we learn it was a trash game that he was once really into. He meets up with his friend Katsuo, and they prepare to have a match. Katsuo shows off his new glitch arm attack, but Rakuro counters with his quick fist technique, blocking all of his friend's attacks. It looks like Rakuro has the upper hand, but thanks to a texture glitch with his fist, Katsuo lands a hit on him, and he loses the fight. Rakuro notes how he's only been fighting NPCs lately, so he's glad he got a chance to PvP with him. Katsuo can't believe he is really playing SLF, but Rakuro admits he's been having fun with it, mentioning the 7 unique monsters that no one has been able to defeat, and he doesn't plan on giving up until he beats the wolf. Katsuo becomes interested, thinking he might try the game out as well, and he mentions how he even emailed their mutual friend about it. We see a girl named Asha as she receives the message. She's surprised to learn Rakuro has started playing the game, but she continues cutting down some other players. We see she's a player killer at level 99, and she thinks about paying Rakuro a visit. When Rakuro gets back into the game, he tells Emil he wants to get to the 3rd town before he spends more time in the Rabbit Kingdom. He notes that since it's summer break, there are a lot of new players, so he wants to get ahead so he doesn't get stuck competing for resources. Emil doesn't really know what he's talking about, but offers to help him out and join his party. As they prepare to head off, they are noticed by 2 girls who find Emil cute, and they wonder how it's possible to have a bunny as a pet. Rakuro wants to keep his scenario a secret, so he quickly runs away, but one of the girls takes a picture, planning to ask about it on the forum. They get outside the town, but there is suddenly a monster that comes charging at them. However, as it gets closer, it notices the markings on Rakuro's body, and it immediately runs away instead. Rakuro goes after it, chasing it into a wall, and as it tries to change direction, he predicts its movements, and he finishes it off. Emil compliments him, wondering what they should do next, and Rakuro decides to skip through and head straight to the next boss. He asks Emil if she has any information about the boss, and she reveals it's a creature known as the Mud Digger. Rakuro realizes he's in trouble hearing the name, and they end up in an area completely covered with a swamp. The mud makes it almost impossible to move properly, but it's too late to change his plan, as the enormous Mud Digger suddenly appears. Rakuro wonders how he will be able to fight it without his speed. The beast dives into the mud and starts approaching them, but thanks to learning some new skills after fighting the Night Slayer, he uses his evade to slide out of the way. The boss lunges at him, but he manages to stop it, and using his upgraded parry skill, he lands a hit with his repel counter. However, his skills have a cooldown, and the boss lunges at him once again, and he doesn't know what to do. But Emil suddenly takes out a book, launching a magic blade that connects with the boss. Rakuro realizes he doesn't have to fight alone, and he tries to attack while the boss is down, but the mud slows him down. The boss gets back up, but Rakuro lands an attack with his skill and knocks it back. He jumps up, telling Emil to attack with her spell, and she launches another magic blade. The boss seems to be defeated, and Rakuro falls down. He compliments Emil on her attack, but he suddenly notices that the boss is gone. The ground starts to shake, and the mud seems like it's pulling him in, so he quickly grabs Emil and throws her away. The boss reemerges, and Rakuro gets thrown into the air. We learn that this is the second phase of the boss, and Rakuro realizes it's trying to take him out with fall damage. He curses whoever designed the fight, because it's a mechanic that couldn't be dodged. He thinks it's all over for him, but Emil suddenly rushes over with a scroll which teleports them. They reappear above the boss, and using the momentum from his fall, he triggers an attack skill known as Meteor Fall, slamming into the boss and defeating it. Rakuro survives with just 1 HP, and he levels up to 29. As they continue to the next area, he eats some herbs to recover some of his HP, and Emil gets excited about getting to the next town. Rakuro wonders how to hide her so they don't cause another scene, so Emil shows him her secret bracelet, which she uses and allows her to transform into a girl. Rakuro is stunned by the transformation, but Emil soon returns to her bunny form, telling him that it's exhausting for her to transform, and she can only last for about 5 minutes. They make it to the third town, but when they get to the gate, the guards wonder why he is half naked. They notice the markings on his body, but Emil suddenly makes up a wild story about him being a great warrior who was reborn. They attract the attention of the other players, but there are some who give Rakuro a strange look. They are allowed into the town, but Rakuro is suddenly grabbed by a girl named Animalia, and she seems to recognize him, but he has no idea who she is. We see that a few hours earlier, after Rakuro ran away from the two girls, one of them posted his picture on the forum, asking how it's possible to tame a talking bunny. Some of the players mock him for his outfit, but when Animalia notices the post, she thinks it's a cheat, since only cats and dogs can be tamed as pets in the game. We learn she's an animal lover, and she immediately heads off to find Rakuro. Other players notice the markings on his body, and some of the more advanced players recognize it as the Night Slayer's markings. While it's not rare for new players to encounter the Night Slayer, there are people who wonder how he got the curse. This even attracts the attention of a player known as Orcelot, the leader of the biggest player-killer clan. The rumors continue to spread, and it seems there is quite the spotlight on Rakuro. Animalia begs to learn how he tamed a Vorpal bunny, but he refuses to reveal his secret. He pretends to not know what she's talking about, but they are suddenly attacked by a masked player, who tells him that it's better to share. Rakuro recognizes them as the Pencil Knight, but she removes her mask, telling him she goes by Asha. Rakuro recalls that they used to play the trash game called Unite Rounds, where we see players robbing a shop, taking all the items inside, but as they leave, they encounter Rakuro, who steals everything from them. We learn that the players were supposed to work together to protect the kingdom from the monsters. But because of the extremely low drop rate, the players struggled to make progress, so they decided to rob each other, because it's far more efficient than grinding. Asha rose to power, and she took control of the kingdom, manipulating the players to do her bidding. We see Rakuro and Katsu in her castle, as they prepare to fight Asha, because she is abusing the players in the game, so they want to put an end to her reign of terror. They see her in the throne room, and they prepare to take her on, as she tells them that she is the game's final boss. We return to SLF, as Rakuro reveals that their fight in Unite Rounds ended in a draw. He sees that Asha is at level 99, noting that he isn't even close to her level, so he knows that he's at a disadvantage. She charges at him, throwing poison knives, but he avoids them, and she is impressed that he is able to survive, considering that he is still at level 29. He tells her that he has the skills to make up for his low level, and Animalia recognizes Asha, revealing that she is the vice leader of the player-killer clan, Ashurakai. She reveals that she has a reputation for defeating high-level players, so the players call her the Giant Killer, but Rakuro recalls that she was the giant who got herself killed in Unite Rounds. She laughs it off, but she starts attacking him, and they exchange blows, as she reveals that the leader of Ashurakai ordered her to gather information about the unique scenario involving the bunny. As their fight continues, he realizes that he can't defeat her, because her level is too high, but he notices that she is keeping him away from the gate, thinking she is trying to stay away from the other players. She confirms this, but she tells him that he will never reach the gate. Animalia wants to know about the Vorpal bunny, thinking Emil must know something, so she approaches Emil, but her transformation wears off, returning her to her bunny form. Animalia goes wild, and seeing this, Rakuro comes up with a plan. He kicks Asha away, knowing she is going easy on him, and Emil jumps to him as he starts running for the gate. Asha chases after them, but she is stopped by an explosion, as Animalia blocks her path, saying she won't let Asha put the bunny in danger. Rakuro is about to reach the gate, but Asha's clanmates get in the way, revealing that they have orders to hunt him down. They charge at him, and he struggles to dodge their attacks, as he notes that they are far stronger than him. Animalia uses her curse spells, releasing magic beams, but Asha absorbs the attack, and reflects it at Animalia, knocking her down. She receives 5 debuffs, as Asha reveals that she is holding an item, which reflects spells, saying she would have been in trouble without it. Rakuro continues to struggle against the player killers, as he wonders how he can defeat them, because they are too strong for him. But Rei suddenly arrives, launching a powerful strike, which smashes the ground, killing one of the players instantly. The player killers recognize her as the attack master, and she recognizes Rakuro's character, so she becomes overjoyed, because she is finally able to find him. We learn that Mana told Rei that Rakuro is playing his son Raku, and she encouraged Rei to continue searching for him, so that she can tell him how she feels. She returns to her house, where we see trash games in her room, revealing that she tried to play them, but she didn't like any of them. She thinks that SLF is her only chance to get closer to Rakuro, so she is determined to find him there. She logs into the game, and she receives a message from her sister, telling her to find a certain player, because her sister wants to talk to him. The message reveals the location of the player, and it even has a picture of him, revealing that the player's name is Son Raku. She makes her way to the location, and she uses super speed, allowing her to travel with haste. She sees Rakuro being attacked by the player killers, thinking this is her chance to talk to him, so she leaps forward, and launches a devastating attack. The impact grabs Asha's attention, thinking the player killers are having a hard time against Rakuro because playing trash games has refined his skills, allowing him to keep up with high-level players. As the dust clears, she sees the attack master, so she becomes excited, saying she is glad she went after Rakuro. But Animalia reveals that she used 5 spells, knowing Asha's item has already reached its limit, so it won't protect her from Animalia's ultimate skill. In a flashback, we see Rei walking to school, when she sees Rakuro, who keeps talking about the trash games he's playing, noting that he's always smiling. She falls in love with him, and since then, she's always been thinking about him, wanting to see him every day. She tries to talk to him, but she can't muster the courage to do it in person, so she thinks about talking to him inside a game. Back in the present, Rakuro notes that he's been saved by a character named Siger Zero, thinking she isn't a player killer. But he suspects that she also wants to learn about the unique scenario, so he doesn't trust her, thinking about finding a way out. Animalia prepares to use her ultimate skill, saying she will self-destruct, and take Asha with her. Asha panics, knowing the item won't protect her, so she tries to stop Animalia, but she activates her skill, killing Asha in an instant. A dark energy covers the area, grabbing everyone's attention, and Rakuro realizes that the player killers are distracted. He uses this chance to escape, stepping on Rei's head, and telling her that he's sorry. He jumps past the player killers, and he runs to the gate, as Rei continues to attack them, allowing him to escape. The player killers blame Rei for their failure, but she recalls how Rakuro told her that he's sorry, causing her to become flustered. The player killers note that she's acting weird, and one of them charges in, thinking she's wide open, but she slices him in half, scaring his companions. She reveals that she's angry, blaming them for Rakuro's sudden departure, so she kills all of them. Meanwhile, Emil opens a gate, allowing Rakuro to escape to the rabbit country. Emil reveals that she ran out of magic because of her transformation spell, but she was able to replenish it by drinking a potion. Rakuro receives a message from Asha, telling him that she didn't lose to him, and he was only able to escape because of the attack master. She says that she wants to talk to him, inviting him to call Katsuo for a meeting in Unite Rounds, but he finds her suspicious because she doesn't want to talk to him in SLF. He also receives a message from Katsuo, who just received an invitation from Asha, wondering if Rakuro is going to back out, but he decides to attend the meeting. He tells Emil that he's going to proceed with the unique scenario, so she takes him to a coliseum, where he is about to undergo serious battle training. She tells him that he needs to defeat 10 monsters, and that he can only use Vorpal weapons during the event. He agrees to this, saying he is ready to take on the monsters, but as Emil opens the gate, a group of level 65 pack hounds appear. Rakuro panics, wondering why he needs to go up against a group of level 65 monsters, but Emil tells him that this is how the event works, and he ends up dying. We cut to Rei, who is happy that she was able to see Rakuro. She thinks about sending him a friend request the next time they meet, thinking he will accept it and they will become friends in real life. But she reveals that she wasn't able to find him after she defeated the player killers, so she wonders where he went. We see Rakuro in the Colosseum as Emil reveals that this is his 7th attempt. The hounds charge at him as he notes that he is having a hard time because of their synchronized attacks. He thinks that there is a pack leader giving orders, and he sees a hound at a distance, thinking it's their leader. So he attacks it, but it starts running away, and the hounds charge at him, but he realizes that their attacks are no longer synchronized. He pursues the leader, throwing his knife, which slows it down, and he catches up to it, landing critical hits in rapid succession. The leader dies, and without their leader, the hounds can no longer launch synchronized attacks, so he easily defeats them. Emil congratulates him on clearing the first round, and she reveals the next opponent, which is a monster with tentacles. He uses hit-and-run tactics, allowing him to secure victory on his 4th attempt. He easily defeats the 3rd opponent, which is a goblin berserker, and the 4th opponent is even easier, because it's a boar, and he has the advantage because of his rodeo experience. But he struggles against his 5th opponent, which is a toxic eagle, and he dies over 100 times before he is able to defeat it. He wins against the 6th and 7th opponents on his first try, because he is able to figure out the monster's tactics, and the 8th opponent is a 2-headed tiger, which he defeats on his 2nd try. The 9th opponent is a golem, and he struggles to formulate a strategy to defeat it, but he is able to win by stripping it down after he dodges its attack. Rakuro celebrates, knowing there is only one opponent left, and he reaches level 31, but he isn't happy about this, because he could have gained more levels if it wasn't for the collar. He tells Emil to reveal the last opponent, but Vash appears, telling him that his timing is perfect, because Vash just caught a powerful monster, thinking it would be a great opponent for him. Vash releases the restraints, revealing that it's a sorcerer who tried to fuse with a tree to prolong its lifespan. He thinks that Rakuro isn't strong enough to defeat it, so he sets a different clear condition, telling Rakuro that he will win if he can survive for 5 minutes. He thinks that it's too easy, but the monster attacks him, and he struggles to keep up with it, as Vash tells him that he's filled with confidence, wondering if he has the skills to back it up. We learn that this monster is nothing like the others, and Rakuro is the first player to ever fight it, but it's far stronger than the opponents he faced in the Colosseum, as we see it's at level 120. Rakuro does his best to avoid its attacks, sliding under its roots, and he even lands a hit, but he realizes it's immune to physical attacks. He gets pushed back by its chains, but Emil tells him he only has 4 minutes to go. He has trouble predicting the movements of the roots, and he notes that its chains also apply a debuff. He does his best to defend himself, but the monster starts attacking with magic as well. It's able to use different types of magic, and Rakuro doesn't think he's going to be able to survive the 5 minutes. He keeps on dodging, but the attacks start to get more intense. The timer reaches 3 minutes, but he starts to become exhausted. He starts to accept that he's going to lose, but he starts to realize he has fallen into the habit of giving up too easily and taking the easy route. He snaps himself out of it, refusing to give up. He runs along its roots, charging straight at the monster, but Vash wonders what he can accomplish. Rakuro manages to disarm the monster, preventing it from using magic, but it starts to go berserk with its roots. He manages to grab onto its staff, but the monster goes wild chasing after him. Emil cheers him on, telling him there's only a minute left. He does his best to dodge, but his path gets blocked, and he gets grabbed by a chain, which gives him debuffs to his speed. He realizes he won't be able to dodge anymore, and the monster attacks him, so he throws its staff away. The monster targets the staff instead, managing to reclaim it, but Rakuro calls it dumb for not finishing him off, as the timer counts down to 0. But the monster starts blasting him anyway, and Rakuro wonders why it's not over, but Vash ends up stopping the creature and crushing it with a single hit. Rakuro wonders how he could damage it, and Vash reveals its physical immunity was only active when it was holding its staff. Emil congratulates him on his success, and Rakuro gets excited for his reward. Vash declares him an honorary rabbit, giving him a title, but Rakuro can't believe that's all he gets. Vash removes his collar, and he successfully completes his unique scenario, but Rakuro can't believe he didn't get anything out of it. He spies on Vash, wanting to get a rare item, and he spots a fancy-looking box. He wonders what kind of rare item it might contain, and when Vash opens it, it just turns out to be a carrot, which he enjoys. Rakuro logs out of the game and realizes it's late, so he decides to get some rest. When he gets back in the game, we see he was given a bonus scenario, but he doesn't know how to start it, so he decides to get to the next area first. However, he remembers all the people who are after him, and the marks on his body are easily recognizable, so he doesn't know what to do. Emil suggests hiding his whole body, but Rakuro doesn't know how it's possible. Emil takes him to a shop in the Rabbit Palace, where he meets the merchant Peets. Peets recognizes him as the Birdman that everyone has been talking about, but Rakuro shows that it's just a mask. This gives Emil an idea, and she asks Peets about a certain clothing item. It turns out to just be a sheet that covers his whole body. They are able to walk around town without being recognized, but he starts losing it, thinking he looks ridiculous. Emil tells him to bear with it until they get out of the town, and Rakuro notes that there are 3 locations they can head to next. There's a prismatic forest that contains a labyrinth cave, a lake area in the crater of a dead volcano, and the iron ruins of divinity. Emil suggests going to the lake, but Rakuro ends up deciding on going to the prismatic forest. As he explains his reasoning behind his choice, Emil is distracted as she recognizes someone. But when Rakuro looks over, he sees that it's Rei who is watching them, and he finds her pretty sus. Meanwhile, we meet Orsalot, the leader of a Shurikai, as he reprimands his men because they failed to complete their mission. They blame the attack master, saying they weren't expecting her to interfere, but Orsalot reminds them that they are dealing with a unique scenario, so top players are likely to show up. He orders them to pursue Rakuro, saying they should threaten him to obtain information about Emil. Asha reminds everyone that they have another target, but Orsalot tells her that they can't defeat it, thinking unique monsters are unbeatable. He reveals that they are the only ones who know how to make it spawn, but they think that it's not worth fighting, and Asha calls them useless. We learn that the members of a Shurikai were hated by everyone because they used to kill players indiscriminately. But after an update which made killing players more difficult, they decided to change their strategy and stay away from danger. Asha thinks that her guildmates can't help her with the unique monster, which is known as the Tomb Guard, but she is determined to defeat it, saying she is willing to do anything to win. We return to Rakuro as he sees Rei, causing him to freak out because he finds her intimidating. He recalls how he stepped on her, and he thinks that she wants to get back at him, so he decides to run away. The player killers notice him, and they see through his disguise, so they chase after him. They think that he's trying to escape to the Iron Ruins, so they tell their colleagues to set up an ambush. But we learn that he took a detour to deceive them, and he's still headed to the prismatic forest. The player killers lose sight of him, and he is about to leave the town, but he sees Rei, so he becomes scared, thinking she's going to kill him. But she just sends him a friend request, and she starts acting weird, causing him to become confused. He finds her suspicious because she is smart enough to see through his deception, thinking she has an ulterior motive. But he is confident in his ability to deal with other players, so he decides to accept her friend request. She is overjoyed to see this, and we learn that she was able to find him purely by chance because she lost sight of him. Rei offers to help Rakuro level up, but he doesn't trust her, so he tells her that he doesn't need her help. She apologizes for being rude, wishing him luck, and they bid each other farewell. After he leaves, she notes that Emil didn't have a name over her head, thinking she must be an NPC, and Rei is happy that she was finally able to talk to Rakuro. The player killers realize that they have been deceived, and they make their way to the forest, but they see her at the gate, causing them to become frightened, so they decide to run away. Rakuro enters the prismatic forest, and he realizes that there are plenty of creatures in the area. He sees a butterfly, thinking it will drop something expensive, so he kills it, and takes the nectar it was carrying. He reads the item description, and he learns that it's fun to throw because it's very fragile. He thinks about gathering more items before he takes on the area boss, and he equips a throwing knife, revealing that he was traumatized by his encounter with the toxic eagle, so he learned to use projectiles. He throws it at a flower, causing a mantis to appear, and he attacks it, killing it in one hit. He checks his inventory, realizing that he was able to collect plenty of items, but they notice a commotion, and they see a giant beetle fighting a swarm of bees. We learn that the beetle entered the bees' territory, searching for nectar, and the queen isn't happy about this, so she orders the swarm to attack. But they can't penetrate its armor, and it continues to make its way to their nest. After some time, they are able to crack its armor, but it starts flying, charging at the queen, and killing her in one hit. The bees decide to retreat, and the beetle starts eating the nectar, but upon seeing Rakuro, it decides to go after him. He runs away, wondering why it's chasing him, and Emil thinks that it must be because of the nectar. He throws it away, hitting a mantis, so the beetle starts attacking it, and he sees an opening, so he lunges at the beetle, targeting the cracks on its armor, to land several critical hits. He manages to defeat it, and he realizes that his inventory is now full, so he decides to stop collecting items. While walking around the forest, he sees webs on a tree, as he recalls that the area boss is called the clown spider, so he concludes that they are close to its location. He sees a cave, and he decides to enter it, ready to fight the boss. We cut to a group of players in the forest, as they discuss how the monsters in the area are no match for them, so they decide to fight the boss. But as they enter the cave, their leader gets stuck on a web, as the clown spider appears. We return to Rakuro, as he tries to enter the cave, but he realizes that he can't enter, because there are still players inside. He sees the leader of the group, as he gets crushed to death, causing the entrance to open. Rakuro enters the cave, and he sees the bodies of the other players. He tells Emil to stand back, because he wants to defeat the clown spider alone, and he scales the wall, avoiding the webs along the way. We learn that he has learned new skills in the arena, thinking it will help him defeat the boss. He sees a boulder approaching him, so he uses his leap skill to avoid it, but he is about to hit a web. However, he holds onto it, and steps on it, revealing that he knows which parts of the web aren't sticky. He sees more boulders approaching, so he uses a skill to increase his speed, allowing him to dodge all of them. He reaches the boss, and it tries to attack him, but he charges in, launching a combination of attacks, which causes it to fall down. It crashes to the ground, but he thinks that it's still alive, and he sees heavy objects attached to the ceiling, so he decides to use them, dropping them down to crush the boss, but it gets back up, and he decides to fight it head-on, thinking it's nothing compared to the Night Slayer. He delivers a devastating attack, hitting its weak spot, and killing it in an instant. He tells Emil that the fight was too easy, saying he didn't even take any damage, and at that moment, he receives a message from Asha. We see Katsuo as he defeats a boss, and he also receives the message, which tells them they should spend time together. Meanwhile, Rei tells Mana that she was able to talk to Rakuro, but Mana reveals that he no longer visits the shop, thinking he must be addicted to SLF. As she walks around the city, she sees Rakuro reading a magazine, and he learns that SLF is about to get a major update, thinking it must be what Asha was talking about. We learn that he had a meeting with Katsuo and Asha, where Asha invited them to fight the Tomb Guard with her, and Katsuo is excited to hear this, because he always wanted to fight a unique monster. She reveals that she fought the boss with the strongest members of her clan, and they didn't stand a chance. But she thinks that the three of them might be able to defeat it, saying she wants them to fight it after the major update. Rakuro wonders why she's inviting them, because their levels aren't that high, but she tells them not to worry, because their skills matter more than their levels. She offers to compensate them for their help, and Rakuro decides to join her, but he thinks that she's hiding something, saying she should tell them the full story. Rakuro leaves the store, and he sees Rei waiting for him. She greets him, but he struggles to remember who she is, and it takes him a while to recall that she was his classmate. She tells him that she also plays SLF, asking him if they can play together, but at that moment, he receives a message from Asha, telling him that she is waiting for him, so he dashes away. He logs into the game, and Emil welcomes him back, asking him what they will be doing today. He tells her that he will be fighting the Tomb Guard after the major update, and he will have to leave her while he's fighting it. But she suddenly freaks out, saying she needs to tell her father about this. He wonders what's wrong with her, as he recalls his meeting with Asha, where he asked her what he should do with Emil while they're fighting the Tomb Guard. She advises him to keep Emil out of it, because when an NPC dies in SLF, they never return, and we see Emil running to her father, thinking it's going to be trouble. They meet with Vash, and it seems he knows the Tomb Guard, saying Rakuro doesn't stand a chance. Rakuro notes that he's just going as a support, and he tries to persuade Vash to give him information. Vash thinks it's a suicide mission, but Rakuro claims he doesn't plan on losing, saying his honor is on the line. Vash reveals that the tomb guard was also an honorable man, but lost his wife over a lie, and became cursed with an undying body. He thinks it would be good if he was put out of his misery, so he takes Rakuro over to the forge. Rakuro gets excited seeing this, and we meet the blacksmith Billick. Vash asks for his Vorpal blades, and he admires them, deciding to ascend them. Billick is shocked hearing this, realizing that Vash will be doing it himself. He goes to get the forge ready, and Vash asks if Rakuro has any other good materials to work with. Rakuro checks his inventory, and decides on using the shell from the giant beetle. As Vash prepares to work, Billick tells Rakuro he's lucky, because it's been years since Vash last worked the forge, noting that he was the master blacksmith before he became king. He starts hammering the blade, as magic circles pop out and are then absorbed. Rakuro wonders what's going on, and Billick reveals that ascending involves reading the memories and experience of a weapon and ascending it into its true form, saying that Vorpal weapons remember their battles against strong foes. Vash starts singing as he works, and Billick is eager to see how it will turn out. Vash finishes the upgrade, and reveals that the blades have new names, the moon blades of waxing and waning. Rakuro excitedly checks them out, and finds that the waxing blade is better against higher level enemies, consuming his HP to deal more damage, while the waning blade is able to refill his HP, and there's also a special gauge that fills up after dealing critical hits that allows the blades to fuse. Rakuro is excited to try it out, but gets a notification that he doesn't have enough stats to equip them, and he realizes he will need to wait until level 50 to use them. Rakuro meets up with Asha and Katsuo, but they are annoyed at him for being 3 hours late. He mentions he was able to get information about the tomb guard, so Asha decides to forgive him. Hearing that the tomb guard is an undead monster, Asha thinks of something, saying she will be back later that night. Rakuro wonders what they should do in the meantime, so Asha gives them a map and a fishing rod, telling them to grind at the iron ruins. As Asha is leaving, she spots Emil around Rakuro's neck. She thinks it's a dumb disguise, but Rakuro claims it's the latest fashion trend, and Asha is shocked when it seems to fool Katsuo. Asha heads off, and Katsuo thinks they should go as well, but Emil's ears start to get tired holding onto Rakuro, and Katsuo is finally able to notice her, wishing he could have a unique NPC of his own. We see that in another meeting, Asha reveals that the tomb guard will activate a skill at the beginning of the battle, which will set the max level for all characters to 50, but the tomb guard's level is fixed at 200, so the high-level players will be at a disadvantage because there's going to be a massive level gap. She explains that she chose Rakuro and Katsuo because they are both skilled players despite their low levels. But she tells them that they still need to reach level 50, giving them a guide on how to level up faster. Rakuro and Katsuo enter the Iron Ruins, where they search for the hidden area that Asha mentioned. Katsuo reveals that he's at level 25, but Rakuro mocks him, saying he's already at level 31. A drone suddenly attacks them, and Katsuo tells Rakuro to stand back as he unleashes his red spirit fist. The drone charges at him, but he counters, shattering it in an instant. Rakuro is impressed, inquiring about the spirit fist, so Katsuo reveals that it increases his strength and vitality. More drones appear, so he jumps into action, destroying them with ease, as he reveals that he chose to be a monk, and he focused on increasing his health and vitality, so he can function as a tank for their team. He thinks that Rakuro spent his points on strength and agility, but he tells Katsuo that he focused on luck instead of strength. Emil adds that he's bursting with Vorpal soul, but Katsuo has no idea what she means. They follow the guide that Asha gave them, and it leads them to a pit, telling them to jump into it. Katsuo thinks that she's playing a prank on them, thinking she wants them to die, but he decides to take the lead, because he's the tank of the team. Emil thinks he's a girl, but Rakuro tells her that Katsuo is a man, and she's surprised to hear this, thinking the world is full of mysteries. Katsuo tells them to go down, calling Rakuro a loser, so he becomes upset, and jumps into the pit. He enters the hidden area, where he sees a lake, and he reads the guide, revealing that they can find serpents if they go fishing. Its XP drop is ridiculously high, so they decide to look for it, and Rakuro catches a fish, but he's disappointed to see that it's just a salmon. Katsuo is about to catch something, thinking it's a small fish, but a massive serpent emerges, and they prepare to take it down. Rakuro equips his new weapon, and we learn that it was created by Bilik, using the materials dropped by the queen bee. He reveals that the right-hand blade has a special attribute, saying it has a corrosive poison, which slowly destroys the target's body and creates a weak point. Rakuro uses it to stab the serpent as Katsuo attacks it, but he realizes that their level is too low, so they can't deal enough damage to take it down. But we see a mark on its body, which was created by the corrosive poison, and Rakuro slashes it repeatedly, creating an opening on the serpent's body. Katsuo uses his black spirit fist, increasing his attack damage, and he strikes the opening, landing a critical hit. He realizes that Rakuro was able to create a weak point, and Emil charges in, but the serpent is about to attack her. Katsuo protects her, and he launches a counterattack, which stuns the serpent. They attack its weak point, allowing them to defeat it, and they are able to level up. Katsuo reveals that he gained 4 levels, and he learned new skills, thinking he should combine them at the skill garden. Rakuro can't understand him, so he explains that high-level skills can be linked at the skill garden to create combo skills. We learn that Rakuro is completely clueless because he skipped the tutorial, and Katsuo gives him more information, causing him to freak out as he realizes how ignorant he is. He decides to continue grinding, thinking it should help him feel better, and after some time, Asha joins them, realizing that their progress is insane. We see that they're in a tent, which functions as a save point, but Asha thinks it's too expensive, saying she only used it because they don't have enough time. She tells everyone that they need to leave, because they need to talk to the unique NPC Setsuna, who only appears during a full moon, saying they need to do it to fight the tomb guard. They go to the forest, where Asha opens a secret passage, and leads them through a tunnel. They reach an open area, and they see Setsuna as she sings a lullaby. Rakuro finds her strange, as he notes that she's wearing clothes from the real world, wondering if she has something to do with the unique scenario. Asha greets her, and she introduces her companions, saying they are her minions, and she claims that they can put the tomb guard to rest. Setsuna finds Rakuro interesting, because he has the Night Slayer's mark, saying he reminds her of someone she knows. Asha tells her to inform them about the tomb guard, and a window appears, asking them if they want to begin the unique scenario. They decide to accept it, so Setsuna reveals that the tomb guard was her lover, but they had a minor misunderstanding prior to her death, and since then, he's been spending all of his time guarding her grave. She can't recall when she died, but she has already accepted that her life has ended, saying the tomb guard needs to move on, and she feels guilty because he's tied down to her past. She explains that he used a program to create a barrier, and he's using the energy of the moonlight to hide his location. But she reveals that the barrier will be cracked on the night of a new moon, and his location is going to be revealed, so they will be able to find him. She implores them to put her lover to rest, and Asha assures her that they will finish the task. Rakuro and Katsuo are surprised to hear this, because they recall that Asha was brutal to NPCs, revealing that she made the royal family suffer in Unite rounds. They think she has regained her humanity, but she attacks them, blowing them away. They immediately surrender, because she's already at max level, and she tells them that she would have slaughtered them if it weren't for their quest. She explains that Setsuna's name and backstory got her emotionally invested, and Rakuro finds this cool, saying a game is more fun if they take it seriously. Katsuo agrees with him, and she's happy to hear this, because they can understand her stupidity. She reminds them that the tomb guard will be a difficult opponent, but everyone is determined to succeed. After some time, Rakuro returns to the real world, realizing that he played all night. We learn that he has been killing serpents with Katsuo, and he's already at level 51. He's preparing for the fight with the tomb guard, thinking his skills are going to determine the outcome. He greets his mother Aika, who is obsessed with insects, and she's glad that he left his room before breakfast. He tells her that he didn't want to be physically logged out again, and we learn that she unplugs his console if he doesn't obey her. We meet his sister Rumi, who is reading a fashion magazine, and Rakuro sees Toa, knowing she's playing as Asha. But he doesn't tell Rumi about this, and we learn that she's a huge fan, because she seems to know everything about Toa. Rakuro thinks that Setsuna is similar to Toa, thinking this is the reason why she has decided to take the game seriously. Their father Senji returns from his fishing trip, and he's holding onto a huge fish. He tells them that he was able to catch it, but Rumi thinks that they'll be eating nothing but fish again. We learn that they have different hobbies, and they're afraid that they won't be able to spend time as a family, so they had an agreement in their household where they will be eating together every Sunday. After their meal, Rakuro returns to his room, thinking he's the most normal person in his family. He realizes that he only has 2 weeks before the boss battle begins, thinking he needs to work on his reflexes because he needs to evade the tomb guard's attacks to survive. He decides to train in Berserk Online because the glitches in the game make the attacks difficult to avoid. Rakuro logs into the game, thinking about fighting the final boss, but he encounters a player named Dragonfly, who reveals that he's a total noob, asking Rakuro if he can give him some tips. Rakuro is surprised to see a new player, because nobody wants to play the game, so he decides to fight Dragonfly, wanting to see what he can do. The battle begins, and he charges at Rakuro, using a glitch that allows his arm to be rubber like Luffy, and Rakuro recognizes the move, knowing how powerful it is. Dragonfly launches the attack, creating a shockwave, but we see that Rakuro was able to dodge it, explaining that he used a bug move called Yo-Yo. He's impressed that Dragonfly was able to exploit a glitch, but he explains that there's still much to learn about the game, saying he's going to demonstrate just how buggy it is. Dragonfly charges at him, but he launches a devastating combo, allowing him to win the match. He tells Dragonfly that his technique is invincible, but he's determined to defeat Rakuro, saying he wants a rematch. Rakuro accepts it, and Dragonfly rushes in, but it looks like he didn't change his strategy. So Rakuro tries to punch him, but he suddenly disappears, and we see that he used the yo-yo glitch to dodge the attack. Rakuro is impressed, but he recalls that he's supposed to be training to fight the tomb guard, and he ended up fighting a noob, thinking he needs to find a worthy opponent. Dragonfly retracts his legs, allowing him to close the distance, and he manages to hit Rakuro, dealing considerable damage. Rakuro tells him that he's making progress, but he chose to use the wrong move, so he's going to need time to recover. Rakuro proceeds to give him a beating, pushing him back, but he's determined to win, so he charges forward, enduring the attacks, and he goes on the offensive, launching his fists at Rakuro. He's surprised to see this, because nobody has ever used that move, and he knows that he can counter it, but he decides to let it hit him, losing the fight on purpose. Rakuro tells him that he just invented a new move, telling him to name it, but he doesn't know what to call it. Rakuro decides to show him a bug, and at the beginning of the match, he creates a clone, revealing that he was the one who discovered the move. He tells Dragonfly that there is much to learn about the game, saying this is what makes Berserk Online worth playing. He fights Dragonfly with his clone, and he manages to secure victory, as Dragonfly realizes that he doesn't stand a chance. He thanks Rakuro for helping him out, saying he was able to learn a lot, and he promises to give his new move a good name. Meanwhile, we see Katsu fishing at the lake, because he's still at level 47, so he needs to keep grinding. He doesn't enjoy doing it alone, saying he wants to play with Rakuro, but we see that he's eating with his family. After some time, Rakuro returns to the rabbit country, where he plans to link his skills to create combos. So Emil leads him to the skill garden, where we meet her sister Elka, who tells Rakuro that she can combine his skills. He realizes that his high-level skills have piled up, and she explains that combining them will produce superior results. So he decides to do it, and she tells him to wait while she works on his order. After a few moments, Elka returns with a strange potion, telling him to drink it to learn the combo skills. He reluctantly drinks it, allowing him to learn them, but Elka tells him that she's selling skill manuals, offering to give him a discount. Emil tries to warn him about her attitude, but Rakuro tells Emil not to worry, saying he's willing to spend money for special items. Elka shows him her selection, saying he can easily afford them, but he's surprised to see that they're ridiculously expensive, thinking she's trying to rip him off. But she persuades him to buy something, and he ends up going with a skill called Moon's Reflection. But Rakuro regrets his decision, because he just lost all of his money, saying he was afraid of how Elka would react. Rakuro has a meeting with his friends, where Asha reminds them that they have 2 weeks before the boss battle. She reveals that they have a problem, because the members of Ashura know about the Tomb Guard, and they have been using him to level up, explaining that players gain experience whenever they encounter a unique monster. She knows that they'll be there during the night of the new moon, thinking they're going to be a hindrance. Katsuo wonders why she won't talk to them since she is their guildmate, but she explains that they're against her plan. She reminds Rikuro and Katsuo that the Ashurikai's members are notorious for killing other players, telling them about an update which gave player killers a special status. She explains that when a player defeats a player killer, he receives a bounty, as well as the right to take anything that belongs to the player killer. She knows that the members of Ashurikai are holding onto rare items, and other players are hunting them down, so they found a way to reduce the damage dealt to them by exploiting the system. But she reveals that her guildmates are vulnerable in their hideout, so she considers killing all of them, saying that they are no use to her. We see players trying to purchase resurrection items, but they realize that the shops are out of stock because Asha already bought all of it. They discuss how their leader is having a meeting with the other clans, thinking they're going to go on a raid because they were ordered to stock up on items. On the day of a major update, we see players talking about the changes made to SLF, and we learn that there are new features added to the game. They think about exploring the new changes, but one of them hears a strange sound, so she springs into action. We learn that Rei is the one behind it, because she's incredibly nervous as she thinks about inviting Rikuro to explore the game with her. She appears to be hesitating, because she doesn't know how he will react. But she musters the courage to send the invitation, causing her to feel overjoyed, as she reveals that she worked on it for 2 weeks. But at that moment, she receives a message from her sister, who informs her that the location of Ashurikai's hideout has been leaked, ordering her to join her clanmates immediately. Meanwhile, we see Rikuro enjoying tea with Emil when a bird approaches him, thinking he's being attacked. But he realizes that it's just a male bird, and he receives the invitation from Rei, but he notes that his schedule is packed. So he thinks about turning her down when another male bird arrives, giving him another message from Rei, who tells him that there's an emergency, so she won't be able to join him. Emil won't be joining the fight, so she gives Rikuro an amulet, saying Vash gave it to her. She tells him that it will protect him, but he claims that he doesn't need it, saying he will win because of his skills. He wears it, and we learn that it's called an ID shard necklace, but it has no effect, and nobody knows who used it in the past. That evening, the members of Ashurikai gather at their hideout, waiting for Asha to return, because they're planning to use the Tomb Guard to help them level up. But Rei suddenly attacks them, as they realize that they're surrounded by players from other clans, who want to punish them for their evil deeds. Orcelot realizes that the clans have formed an alliance to take them down, and he wonders how this happened, because they're not supposed to know about the location of the hideout. They charge in, slaughtering the members of the Ashurikai, but Orcelot manages to defend himself, and he orders his men to retreat to the hidden area. We see Rikuro and Katsuo ready to fight the Tomb Guard, as Rikuro reveals that he obtained a new sash, which increases his vitality. But Katsuo tells him that it doesn't make a difference, because he's still a glass cannon. Asha joins them, telling them that Rei slaughtered everyone in the Ashurikai, and Rikuro realizes that this is the emergency she was talking about. Katsuo tells Asha she's in trouble, because she betrayed her clanmates, but she doesn't care, and she forms a party with her friends, reminding them about their plan. We return to Orcelot, as he escapes with his men, but he realizes that the entrance to the hidden area is blocked, because there are already players inside, and he concludes that Asha betrayed them. Rikuro notes that Setsuna isn't there, so Asha explains that they can't see her without the light of the full moon. Asha is determined to complete the quest for her, and she touches the tree, creating a crack on the barrier. They go through it, and they enter an open area, where they see the Tomb Guard protecting Setsuna's remains. The system notifies them about the encounter, and their levels are decreased to 50 as the Tomb Guard prepares to take them on. Rikuro approaches him, and he launches a wind slash with ridiculous speed, but Rikuro manages to dodge it, and he strikes the Tomb Guard, but it has no effect. He counters, pushing Rikuro back, and he follows up with a wind slash, which Rikuro manages to deflect. They start exchanging blows, as Asha notes that he's able to keep up with the Tomb Guard's movements, because they discussed his attack patterns in their meeting. We learn that he's able to kill players in a single hit, and his wind slash is unblockable, so the only way to survive against it is to dodge or deflect it. But it has a single frame execution, so it's extremely difficult to grasp the timing. Asha explains that the Tomb Guard has deadlier skills at his disposal, and they conclude that he's unbeatable, thinking he's a special type of monster, which can be defeated by fulfilling a certain condition. Asha thinks they will win if they survive for a few minutes, revealing that his fighting style changes as the fight drags on, and Phase 1 lasts for 10 minutes. Rakuro continues to fight the Tomb Guard, dodging his attacks and landing a few hits. Asha thinks they're going to win the fight, because Rakuro is incredibly skilled. But the Tomb Guard launches a wind slash, which ends up hitting Rakuro, who realizes that he doesn't stand a chance. His health reaches 0, but Katsu uses an item, allowing him to fight on. We learn that Asha gave them resurrection items before the battle, explaining that it can revive players at full health if it's used within 10 seconds after death. She reveals that she bought all of the items from the stores, and they each cost 4 million gold to buy, surprising the duo with how expensive they are. She decides that they will each have 4 of them, and she shows them an item which can be used to revive players at 50% health, giving each of them 5. She reveals that their plan is to let Rakuro take point, while Katsu and Asha will serve as the backup, thinking it's the only way to defeat the Tomb Guard. We return to the battle, as Rakuro is revived using the item, and the Tomb Guard attacks Katsu, who barely manages to evade, saying he will take over until Rakuro is ready. Asha explains that they have survived for over 2 minutes, which is a record for a first encounter, wondering what Rakuro thinks about the Tomb Guard. So he tells her that he can't win alone, saying the Tomb Guard deserves to be in the same level as the Night Slayer. He notes that his twin blades are about to break, thinking he needs tougher weapons to win the battle, so he decides to use his marsh daggers, because he has maxed out its durability. The Tomb Guard raises his sword, and he uses his Thunderclap skill, summoning lightning bolts, but Rakuro uses his skate foot ability, allowing him to move with ridiculous speed. We see Katsu and Asha struggling to dodge the lightning, as Asha explains that the skill will last for 5 seconds. Katsu barely manages to survive, but Rakuro thinks that the lightning will never hit him because his skill allows him to move faster than lightning. But the Tomb Guard uses his Nimbus Fist skill, and Rakuro doesn't know how to counter it, so he ends up getting hit, and his health reaches 0. But Katsu revives him, and he tries to fight the Tomb Guard, but he's instantly defeated, so Asha uses her item. Rakuro continues the fight, and they stick to their plan, but as the fight drags on, Katsu explains that he's struggling against the attacks, saying he can only survive for a few seconds. Asha reveals that they have consumed half of their resurrection items, but she thinks they're doing a good job. The Tomb Guard suddenly stops attacking, as Asha explains that they have survived for 10 minutes, so they have entered Phase 2. The Tomb Guard summons his horse Kirin, and Katsu reveals that they have been expecting this, saying he's ready to fight it. But he realizes that it's a massive creature, causing him to feel intimidated, so he starts running away. We learn that their plan is to prevent it from being mounted by the Tomb Guard, because once he rides it, he will become an unstoppable force, and the party won't stand a chance against him. It starts launching missiles, and Katsu barely manages to dodge them, wondering how he's supposed to stop it. Asha advises him to ride it, reminding him that he played a game about riding horses, but he explains that it's a fighting game, thinking the techniques he learned in that game won't work against Kirin. It starts firing lasers, and Katsu continues to run away, but he observes Kirin, knowing it's a machine, so he thinks it needs to undergo maintenance. At that moment, he sees a ladder, so he decides to climb it, allowing him to mount it, and he wraps his whip around its neck. But it starts moving around, and he struggles to stay on its back. Asha notes that they're running out of resurrection items, so she decides to use her trump card, which is known as the reward scales. We learn that it's a unique item, which sacrifices items on one side to receive the perks on the other side. She offers her most expensive items, which are worth over 30 million gold, planning to use them to temporarily boost her friend's stats. We see that Rakuro is running out of stamina, and Katsu is about to fall off. But Asha activates the scale, boosting their stats, and Rakuro can immediately tell the difference, realizing that she gave him a buff. He notes that his luck and stamina have increased, and he decides to fight with his fists, as he reveals that he has a skill which uses luck to determine its power. The Tomb Guard is about to use his wind slash, but Rakuro uses his skill, the Hand of Fortune, disarming the Tomb Guard, and he uses his skate foot to steal the sword. He thinks that the Tomb Guard can't fight without it, but he realizes that the sword is too heavy. Katsu is still struggling, but Asha tells him to hold on, because Phase 2 will end in 4 minutes. He comes up with an idea, and his whip ends up breaking, but he remains unfazed, thinking they'll be able to win with his plan. The tomb guard launches an attack with his hand, and Rakuro barely manages to dodge it, realizing that he's still dangerous without his sword. But he notes that he went the wrong direction, so Asha is now closer to the tomb guard. He charges at her, and Rakuro tries to stop him, but the tomb guard suddenly grabs him, smashing him to the ground. He ends up dying, and the tomb guard prepares to kill Asha with his Nimbus fist, but she dashes forward, knowing she can evade it if she runs past him. She manages to survive, and she uses the item on Rakuro, allowing him to get back up. He continues his battle with the tomb guard, as she tells him to be careful, saying she was only able to survive because the tomb guard used Nimbus fist. Phase 2 is about to end, but Asha hears Katsuo screaming, and she realizes that he tied himself to Kirin so that he will never fall off. His plan seems to be working, and Phase 2 comes to an end, as Kirin and the tomb guard stop moving, but Asha warns everyone not to let their guard down, because the real challenge is about to begin. The tomb guard's armor starts breaking, as she explains that the Ashurakai was wiped out in an instant when he unleashed a powerful shockwave. But she reveals that she brought holy water, saying the tomb guard is probably an undead creature, because Vash mentioned that he has outlived his time. He's about to unleash the shockwave, but she throws the holy water, as she explains that it's the best weapon for fighting undead creatures. The bottle shatters upon impact, covering the tomb guard in holy water, and he starts screaming, as Rakuro wonders if he's going to attack. But they realize that his move has been cancelled, because the holy water worked against him. His body starts burning, as they enter Phase 3, and Kirin transforms into a robot, causing Katsuo to fall off. Everyone is confused, because Asha never made it this far, so they weren't able to discuss this during the strategy meeting. But Rakuro thinks they shouldn't allow Kirin to merge with the tomb guard, and Katsuo runs away, as it starts pursuing him. Rakuro thinks they should change their strategy, telling Asha to help Katsuo, as he notes that the tomb guard's body is starting to crumble, thinking they need to survive until he completely falls apart. Asha speculates that they need to survive another 10 minutes, because that's how long it took to complete the other phases. Rakuro tells her that he can handle the tomb guard on his own, so she agrees to his plan, telling him to be careful, because she won't be able to revive him if he ends up dying. But as he charges forward, he thinks about defeating the tomb guard, because he wants to have fun, thinking surviving until the timer expires is too boring. He manages to deflect the tomb guard's attacks, and he closes the distance, managing to land a hit, as he notes that he's able to deal damage, so he concludes that the tomb guard isn't invincible. He equips his new helmet, using it to defend himself, and he wields his moon blades, planning to defeat the tomb guard before he falls apart. He tries to attack Rakuro, but he uses his helmet to parry, and this creates an opening, allowing him to land a critical hit, but the tomb guard endures it, and he pushes Rakuro back. He charges forward, but Rakuro uses his skill, allowing him to land an attack from behind. So the tomb guard watches his back, but Rakuro reveals that it was just a distraction, and he launches a surprise attack, allowing him to land several critical hits. The tomb guard falls to his knees, as Rakuro becomes excited, so he starts laughing, and Katsuo wonders if he's okay. But Asha reveals that he's just enjoying the battle, because he likes being the underdog, saying this will allow him to fight better. Katsuo continues to run away, thinking he might be able to defeat Kirin, but Asha tells him not to bother, saying they just need to keep it distracted. But he uses his whip, wrapping it around Kirin, but it lifts him, and it sends him crashing to the ground. His health reaches 0, so Asha revives him, and Kirin starts pursuing her. She gives him an item, and she mentions that it will raise his stats for 15 minutes, explaining that it will give him abilities equal to a level 99 player. She tries to tell him that it has a serious side effect, which is the reason why she doesn't want to use it, but Katsuo suddenly consumes it, saying he's willing to take the risk. He starts feeling weird, as he notes that his senses have been affected, thinking it isn't so serious. But Asha tells him that his level will decrease every 30 seconds, so he becomes upset, realizing that he will return to level 20 after the effect wears off. He wonders why she didn't warn him about this, but she tells him that he ate it before she could finish her explanation, and she uses her scale to boost her stats. Kirin continues to pursue him, and he decides to fight back, combining his red and black spirit fists to form the color crimson. He uses his skill, creating a seal on Kieran's leg, and he strikes it, amplifying the damage and causing Kieran to lose balance. Asha activates her buffs, and she stabs the leg with all her might, trying to shatter it, but she realizes that she can't break through it. Kieran fires an energy blast, and Asha manages to survive, but we see that she lost an arm, and Katsuo notes that Kieran's armor is thicker around its waist, thinking they will be able to expose a weak spot if they pry it open. Meanwhile, Rakuro continues to enjoy his battle with the Tomb Guard, revealing that he has already memorized the attack pattern. He notes that the Moonblades are a good match for his skills, because one of them decreases his health every time he attacks, and he has a special ability called Climax Boost, which significantly increases his stats, but he can only use it when his health is low. We learn that SLF has a gauge that represents hunger, and a player's stamina recovery rate is affected if he's hungry. Rakuro managed his hunger, because he has another skill called Hunger Wolf, which temporarily boosts his stats, depending on his health and hunger. He thinks about combining his skills to secure victory, and he charges in, as he notes that the Tomb Guard sheathed his sword, thinking he's preparing to use Wind Slash. So Rakuro parries, but he doesn't attack, because he saw the ID shard necklace. Rakuro realizes that he knows Vash, and he mentions a person named Alice, as he explains that he has been rotting in the area for eternity, so he doesn't know what happened outside, but he knows that the frontier has been established. Rakuro has no idea what he's talking about, because it sounds so cryptic, and he calls Rakuro the child of the second plan, as he prepares to unleash his full power. The Tomb Guard exudes an ominous aura, and he attacks with a Wind Slash, but Rakuro manages to avoid it, thinking his moves haven't changed at all. But he suddenly summons lightning, as Rakuro realizes that he can chain his skills, and as the lightning continues to strike the ground, he uses his Nimbus Fist, so Rakuro struggles to keep up with him. He charges at Rakuro, trying to attack with his hand, and he manages to parry it. But the Tomb Guard continues his relentless assault, as Rakuro notes that he can use his skills without cooldown. He strikes the ground, summoning a fire dragon, and it takes to the sky, forming a dark cloud. The Tomb Guard uses a combination move, causing dragons to rain from the sky, so Rakuro dashes away, managing to dodge all of them. But he notes that his skills are on cooldown, thinking he's going to die if the onslaught continues, because he's been using Skate Foot to dodge the attacks. He opens his inventory, revealing that he has a plan, but the Tomb Guard catches up to him, restraining his legs, and preparing to cut him down. He realizes that he has no choice but to parry it, but the Tomb Guard uses his ultimate skill, slicing through Rakuro's helmet and delivering a devastating blow. Katsuo is about to revive him, but Asha stops him, and the Tomb Guard is about to walk away, but we see that Rakuro hasn't given up, as he prepares to revive himself. The item activates, bringing him back to life, and Rakuro reveals that he launched the item before he got hit, allowing him to self-revive. The Tomb Guard explains that he won't fall until his ultimate skill has been surpassed, and he summons lightning. So Rakuro dashes away, as the Tomb Guard continues to pursue him, chaining his attacks. But Rakuro manages to dodge them, and he notes that the Tomb Guard unleashes a relentless assault, before using his ultimate skill. Rakuro has memorized the attack pattern, so the Tomb Guard struggles to hit him, as he notes that he just needs to preserve stamina, and maintain the right distance. But his leg is suddenly restrained, so he prepares his resurrection item, knowing the Tomb Guard is about to use his ultimate skill. He launches it into the air, and he gets cut in half, but the item activates, allowing him to fight on. He wonders how he can survive the Tomb Guard's ultimate skill, because he can't dodge it, and it destroys everything in its path, so his weapon will break if he blocks it. He thinks about destroying the Tomb Guard's sword before he uses his ultimate skill, but Rakuro knows that it's impossible, because he won't be able to do it while he's dodging the combination of attacks. He realizes that he's running out of resurrection items, thinking he won't be able to survive until the end of the phase. But the Tomb Guard reminds him that he won't fall until his ultimate skill has been surpassed, and he continues his assault. Hearing this, Rakuro realizes that there's no time limit for Phase 3, and the clear condition is to survive against the skill. But he struggles to counter it, thinking he needs to parry, but he notes that it's incredibly difficult to perform, because his timing needs to be perfect. He uses the item which revives him with 50% health, as he realizes that his skills are almost ready, planning to use them to defeat the Tomb Guard. We cut to Asha and Katsuo, as they continue fighting Kirin. Katsuo mentions that he's a pro gamer, so he has the skills to defeat Kirin, but Asha suddenly stabs herself, causing him to panic as he wonders why she took her own life. Kirin continues to pursue him, but he manages to revive her, and she reveals that she had to take her own life so that she can be revived with both hands, but Katsuo wonders why she didn't warn him. She targets the midsection, thinking it's the weak spot, and Kirin tries to counter, but Katsuo manages to restrain it, causing it to lose its footing, and it crashes to the ground. He completely immobilizes Kirin as Asha tries to destroy its midsection, but she realizes that her weapon is about to break because she used armor-piercing buffs, which reduces its durability. She reveals that she tried hitting its other body parts, but she can't deal damage, and she notes that the midsection looks suspicious because it seems to contain the core. She tells Katsuo to pull Kirin up, and she unleashes a devastating blow. Her weapon is about to break, but she continues to strike the midsection as Katsuo holds it in place. She manages to shatter the armor, revealing its core, but it suddenly fires an energy beam, breaking Asha's weapon and forcing them to retreat. They realize that it has gone berserk, but she suggests pressing the attack, saying they should defeat it because it might attack Rakuro. It fires countless energy beams, but Asha manages to dodge them as she notes that she has 2 spears left, so they need to end the fight before she runs out of weapons. She lunges at Kirin, and she uses her skill to attack its shadow, preventing it from moving until her weapon breaks. She equips her last spear, preparing to unleash her most powerful attack, but she realizes that a missile is approaching her, and she ends up getting hit. Katsuo prepares to revive her, but he realizes that she's still alive, telling him that she only needs one arm to defeat Kirin. She launches her spear with all her might, and it hits the core with tremendous force, causing it to burst. Katsuo follows up, unleashing his ultimate move as he delivers the finishing blow. Kirin crashes to the ground, and its body disintegrates as Asha and Katsuo celebrate their victory, but they're worried about Rakuro, who has just consumed his last resurrection item. But his skills are almost ready, and he prepares to use a powerful combination to counter the Tomb Guard's ultimate skill. He changes his helmet as he tells the Tomb Guard that the fight is about to end. He dodges the chain of attacks, and he combines his moon blades, turning it into the Twin Moon, which significantly increases his stats. He prepares to use Climax Boost, but he realizes that he can't activate it because his health is too high. So he freaks out, realizing that he messed up, and the Tomb Guard is about to strike him down, but a dagger suddenly hits him as he realizes that Setsuna is watching. Rakuro uses the opportunity to stab himself, knowing he won't die, because with the recent update, the Endure status has been introduced. It activates for players with high luck, who are about to get killed by self-inflicted damage, allowing them to survive with 1 health. Rakuro activates his Climax Boost, and he unleashes a powerful aura, as he manages to surpass the Tomb Guard's stats. The Tomb Guard uses his ultimate skill, but he counters with everything he has. Their powers clash, creating a shockwave, but he manages to overpower the Tomb Guard, shattering his armor and destroying his sword. Rakuro acknowledges his strength, saying he was only able to win because of sheer persistence, and the Tomb Guard admits defeat, telling Rakuro that he's incredibly talented. The Tomb Guard takes his sword, and he walks past Rakuro as he approaches Setsuna's grave. He mentions that his body is failing, so he wants to enjoy his final moment with her as he withers away, joining her in the afterlife. The area returns to normal, and Setsuna appears before the party, thanking them for completing the quest. But she reveals that she isn't the real Setsuna, saying she's just a remnant of the past, which was produced by Setsuna's dying wish to put the Tomb Guard's soul to rest. She tells them that she's about to disappear because her role has been fulfilled, and she mentions that they're the descendants of the second plan, saying it's their destiny to open the world. She advises them to look for Bahamut if they want to learn the truth, and Rakuro recognizes it as a giant fish which is treated as a dragon. But Asha knows that it doesn't exist in the game, so she wonders what Setsuna means, but she tells them that they will discover the answer, bidding them farewell as she finally disappears. Asha starts crying, but her friends tease her, saying they didn't know she had a soul, so she becomes upset. But at that moment, they receive a notification, telling them that they have completed the unique scenario, and Asha thanks them for helping her. Rakuro knows that this is the first time a unique monster has been defeated, so they're excited to see the rewards. But as they're about to check their loot, they hear an announcement informing everyone that Rakuro's party was able to defeat the Tomb Guard, so the world story has made progress. At the Royal Library, we see a group of players looking into the game's lore as they look for the professor, thinking everything is going to change. They don't know anything about the world story, but they think SLF is going to enter a new stage, revealing that they've never heard of the Tomb Guard, so they plan to look into him. They prepare to contact Rakuro's party, but they suddenly receive a message from the professor's wife, who is revealed to be in the Schwarz-Wolf clan, telling them that the professor is about to go online. Meanwhile, we meet the rest of the Schwarz-Wolf clan as Rei's sister, Siger 100, leads the meeting, wondering how the unique monster was defeated. They look into Rakuro's party as they realize that Asha used them because she betrayed the Ashurakai so that she can fight the Tomb Guard, thinking she's an even greater threat than Orsalot. Siger has never heard of Katsuo, but she knows that Rakuro fought the Night Slayer. We learn that they're planning to journey to the new land, but she decides to stay there as she looks into Rakuro, thinking he's an interesting player, so she wants to meet him. But they realize that Rei is missing, and one of them mentions that she left to help a friend. We cut to Rakuro as his party meets Orsalot, who is upset because Asha betrayed the Ashurakai. But she calls him a loser, telling him that he's about to get what he deserves, because he's a terrible leader. He prepares to attack them, but a sigil suddenly appears, as Asha explains that a feature called Distress Signal has been introduced, allowing players to call for help. We learn that Rakuro summoned Rei, and Orsalot panics, knowing she just slaughtered his friends. He tries to fight her, but she easily defeats him, killing his friends, and Asha approaches him, delivering the finishing blow. They check his items, and Rakuro thanks Rei for helping them, but she tells him not to mention it, congratulating him for defeating the Tomb Guard. He realizes that everyone received the announcement, so he's worried that people will recognize him in public. Asha approaches Rei, revealing that she wants to die, but Katsuo wonders if she's sure about this, knowing she's going to lose everything, because she's going to get punished for her crimes. But she explains that she doesn't care, saying she wants to clean her record, because she wants to stop killing players. She challenges Rei to a fight, knowing she has a fierce reputation as a player, so Asha wants to fight her with everything she has. Rei accepts the challenge as she unleashes her sword's power, releasing a dark energy, which causes her armor to turn black. She uses all of her buffs, saying she won't hold back, because Asha has a reputation for defeating the best players, and Asha uses Orsalot's sword, preparing to fight with her full power. She charges at Rei, using a skill to attack her from behind, but she manages to block it, covering Asha's sword with a dark energy, and she realizes that she can't move. Rei attacks her, shattering the ground, and we see that she lost her arm, but she manages to survive, saying she won't go down so easily, as she tries to fight back. So Rei prepares to use her full power, surrounding her sword with a mysterious energy, which pushes Asha back, and she unleashes a devastating blow, creating a shockwave that completely covers the area. As the dust settles, Rei returns to her original form, and Asha is nowhere to be found, because her body has been completely destroyed. Rei takes her items, but Rakuro and Katsuo wonder what they should do next, because they don't know how to deal with her. Katsuo reminds Rakuro that she's his friend, but he explains that she's creepy, so he's trying to be careful. Katsuo thinks about fighting her, but she asks Rakuro about his relationship with Asha, so he tells her that they're gaming buddies, and she's happy to hear this, realizing they're just friends. She's about to be teleported away, as she explains that her timer has expired, and Rakuro thanks her for helping him, promising to pay her back. She's about to invite him to go out with her, but she suddenly disappears, and Rakuro realizes that Orsalot's sword has been left behind, so he decides to take it. We cut to Emil as Rakuro approaches her, telling her that he defeated the Tomb Guard. She's overjoyed to see him, and she starts crying, saying she was worried about him. But he tells her he's okay, and he returns the necklace, saying it helped him to win. Meanwhile, at the Utopia Company headquarters, we meet a man named Kyogi, as his subordinate tells him that everyone's in a state of shock, because the Tomb Guard wasn't supposed to be defeated yet. He prepares to meet his colleagues, but he realizes that he's out of medicine, so he starts to panic, knowing he's having stomach problems. We meet the executive producer of SLF, Ritsu, as she tries to enter a room, but she becomes upset, because the system keeps asking for her biometrics. The door opens, and she meets the founder of Utopia, Sukuri, telling her that the tomb guard has been defeated. They check Rikuro and his friends, as Ritsu mentions that they used the reward scales to defeat the tomb guard. Sukuri becomes angry, saying he was defeated because Ritsu nerfed his stats, but she explains that she did it because Sukuri made him too overpowered. They start arguing about the game's balance, as Sukuri explains that the tomb guard was supposed to be extremely powerful, and Kyogi arrives, telling them to stop fighting. But Ritsu suddenly hits him, forcing him to retreat. We learn that Sukuri designed the world, while Ritsu is in charge of balancing the game, but they're always fighting, because Sukuri wants to make the characters overpowered. That evening, Rei thinks about Rikuro, and she believes that her relationship with him is getting better, because he summoned her to his side. She thinks that Rikuro gave her presents, but Rikuro just gave her the items from the Ashurikai members, and she looks forward to seeing him in the real world. The next day, Rikuro logs into the game, and Emil tells him that Vash wants to see him. So he visits Vash, telling him that the tomb guard was a powerful opponent, and Rikuro notes that he would have lost if he didn't work on his reflexes. Vash thinks that the time has finally come, asking Rikuro if he wants to learn the truth about the world. He looks forward to hearing it, but Vash tells him to collect items first, and he receives a quest, telling him to find 3 items. But he's completely clueless, asking Vash where he can find them, so Vash tells him to look for a place called the Lightless Barrens. He checks his map, but Vash tells him that he can't find it there, saying he will discover it eventually, and Vash takes his leave. Rikuro checks his stats, and he's surprised to learn that he's already level 78, realizing that the tomb guard dropped an insane amount of EXP. He realizes that he has new skills, and he checks the battle loot, as he notes that he has obtained the Tome of Truth, which mentions the tomb guard's backstory, but he decides not to read it yet. He sees a skill book, which allows him to learn the tomb guard's skills, but he can't use them until he has acquired a divine equipment. He becomes excited, thinking the skill book is incredibly useful, but he knows that he needs to acquire a divine equipment, so he won't be able to use the skills anytime soon. He sees a special bracelet, which allows him to access a storage space, and it protects his items from being stolen. He thinks that it's like an item box, and he decides to try it, but he's teleported away, and he arrives in his storage, realizing that it's full of mysterious items. Asha visits Setsuna's grave, giving her flowers, as Asha reveals that she's broke, so that's all she can afford. She promises to return with something better, and she recalls Setsuna's words, as she told them that they will discover the truth after they find Bahamut. Asha reveals that she planned to quit SLF after defeating the tomb guard, but she decides to keep playing because she realizes that the game is full of mysteries. We see Katsuo in his room, and we learn that he has earned countless awards as a pro gamer. He thinks SLF is a great game, revealing that he was just planning to play it to kill time, but he doesn't want his friends to enjoy it without him. He thinks about practicing for his next contest, but he receives a message from Rikuro, telling him to check his inventory, because they received a special bracelet after defeating the tomb guard. So he decides to log in, and he meets his friends in a bar, where Rikuro tells them about the mysterious items in the storage area, thinking they look amazing. Asha reveals that she also saw them, but she thinks they aren't useful yet, explaining that they're tactical armors which require a power source to function. She explains that an ether reactor is required to activate them, but she doesn't know how to acquire it. But Katsuo reveals he already has an ether reactor, surprising everyone, as Asha wonders how he obtained it. He reveals that he acquired it after they defeated Kirin, but he mentions that it's damaged, saying he's been trying to get it repaired, but the blacksmiths don't even know what it is. Rikuro says he might have a solution, telling them that it's connected to a unique scenario, and he asks Katsuo if he can borrow the reactor. Katsuo agrees to this, but he tells Rikuro to explain how he unlocked the unique scenario. So he tells Katsuo that he isn't sure how he did it, but he thinks it's because of his encounter with the Night Slayer. He explains that he was less than level 20 when he fought against it, but he was able to survive for 5 minutes, and landed 200 critical hits with a Vorpal weapon. But his friends become upset, because they think he's bragging, knowing they can't match his skills. Katsuo gives him the reactor anyway, and Asha asks Rikuro to return the items she gave him. We learn that she gave him the reward scales before they left the secret area, and Rikuro returns it to her, as she reveals that she just borrowed it from an organization called the Golden Scales. She explains that she didn't want to lose it, because she's going to use it to retrieve her items through a method known as laundering. She explains that she lost everything after she was killed, because Ray took her items, and the system punished her for killing players by selling everything in her storage to pay an exorbitant fee. Katsuo thinks she was able to protect the scale by giving it to Rikuro, but she explains that it doesn't work that way, because the system will search the player's history and sell the item. She reveals that the system didn't sell the reward scale, because she just borrowed it, saying ownership isn't transferred by giving someone an item, so it still belongs to the Golden Scales. Rikuro doesn't understand what she means by laundering, so she explains that she used the reward scale to hide her items, and she activates it, revealing that she was able to save the items she received from the tomb guard. They realize that they obtained different items after the fight, because Asha acquired a flower pin instead of a skill book. She explains that she offered her items to the reward scale, causing her to lose ownership over them, and she's able to retrieve them by sacrificing 40 levels to the scale. She adds that the Golden Scales still have her main weapon, because she used it as collateral to obtain the reward scales, so she can still retrieve it. Katsuo asks her about the penalty, so she tells him that it cost her 500 million, and she mentions that hunting unique monsters is profitable, thinking they should do it again. She thinks they should form a clan, and they play rock paper scissors, but Asha ends up losing, so they tell her that she's going to be the leader. She realizes that she lost because of her reaction speed, thinking she isn't fit for the role, but Rikuro asks her what they should call the clan. Everyone makes a suggestion, and she decides to name the clan Wolfgang, saying their goal is to hunt unique monsters. They start drinking together, and they discuss the clan emblem, but at that moment, a man enters the room, saying he's searching for the party that defeated the tomb guard. He mentions their names, but they start running away, saying they have no idea what he's talking about. They discuss their plans, and Katsuo thinks about leveling up, while Asha considers returning the reward scales to retrieve her main weapon. They part ways, telling Rikuro to fix the reactor, and the man chases after him, but he enters an alley, where he meets Emil, telling her to open a gate to Rabbit Town. Rikuro enters Elka's store, where he merges his skills, and Elka asks him if he wants to buy her products, but he refuses, saying he's broke. He realizes that Vash isn't in the town, wondering who can fix the reactor, and he thinks Billick might be able to help him. So he shows it to Billick, but he reveals that only an ancient craftsman can fix it, saying he isn't at that level yet. So Rikuro thinks about putting the reactor aside, and work on raising his new skills, but he suddenly comes up with an idea. He thinks about helping Billick become an ancient craftsman. Emma wonders what kind of training Billick will need to do, but Rikuro has no idea, but Billick tells them there are 2 things needed to become an ancient craftsman. The first thing is a legacy weapon, and the second is a magic application unit, but Billick warns that they won't be easy to find. Rikuro thinks about the legacy weapon, and he suddenly disappears into his storage space. He reappears with the Tomb Guard's sword, and Billick can't believe he has a legacy weapon. Billick gets excited, preparing to dismantle the sword, but Rikuro stops him, saying he needs to check with his friends, because they share ownership of the items in the storage. Billick thinks they should find the magic application unit instead, and points out where it can be found. Rikuro looks at the map, and notes that it's quite far away, near the 11th town, but he also notices that the Lightless Barons are also near the town, and he recalls how he needs to go there to get the items for Vash's quest. He starts to get excited, but Billick says he's also coming along. Rikuro wonders how he can travel around with 2 rabbits, but Billick disguises himself as Rikuro's cloak. Before they head off, Rikuro sets his respawn point inside the Rabbit Palace. They need to get through an area called the Canyon of Ancient Souls, but it's covered by a miasma and filled with undead, so they stop by the 4th town first. They head to a shop, and Billick notes it will be hard to deal with the miasma without a cleric or a holy item, so Rikuro picks up some holy water. They continue on their way, and they make it to the Canyon of Ancient Souls. As they walk, Billick notices that Rikuro isn't affected by the miasma, so he reveals that the Nightslayer's mark nullifies all effects that are weaker. An undead wyvern suddenly appears, but upon seeing the markings on Rikuro's body, it quickly runs away. Billick wonders if this is also an effect of his mark, so he mentions how any monster that's lower level than him will run away, and thanks to defeating the tomb guard, his level is now quite high. They have a relaxing walk through the area, but they soon come across a monster that doesn't run. Rakuro wonders if it can even see him since it's a headless horseman, but they prepare to fight it. Rakuro is excited to try out some of his new skills, and he starts fighting with the monster. He notes that even though it's higher level than him, he isn't threatened by it after having fought with the tomb guard. He thinks about making it dismount, so he uses his Vorpal Slash skill, which manages to knock it down. Billick uses the holy water on his hammer, and he sends the horseman flying. Rakuro uses his skill to jump after it, but notices Billick wanting to finish it off. The horseman tries to counterattack, but Rakuro dodges and activates his Ignite skill to boost his stats, and with his increased luck, he uses his Hand of Fortune to deal bonus damage, and he follows up by blasting it with Emel's magic. The monster falls, and Billick delivers the finishing blow with his Titan's Blast. The horseman drops his sword, but Rakuro isn't impressed by it, thinking it's junk, but Billick takes a look and thinks he could restore it. Rakuro notes how he forgot Billick was a blacksmith, but when he checks his stats, he's surprised to see that Billick is actually at level 98. They continue on to look for the boss, thinking the area is simple, but we see a creature that's watching them. Rakuro wonders what he'll find above them, but Billick warns him not to go there, because there are dangerous creatures known as crystal scorpions, which usually attack in swarms. Rakuro sees one of them, so Emil freaks out, thinking they're going to die, and Billick tells him to keep moving. Rakuro thinks about fighting the scorpions in the future, but his companions think he's nuts, thinking he doesn't stand a chance against them. Rakuro and his companions see a black dome, thinking the area boss is inside, so they decide to enter it, and they sense a dark presence as they encounter a powerful lich. Rakuro thinks about killing it before it casts a spell, so he charges in, but his attack doesn't land, and Billick explains that physical attacks don't work against it, saying they need a holy weapon to deal damage. The lich unleashes a wave of potent miasma, dealing damage to Rakuro, and Billick realizes that it's the source of the miasma in the canyon. But it suddenly disappears, as they realize that Rakuro is able to resist it because of his mark, but he wonders how they can defeat the lich, knowing it's immune to his attacks. Billick tells him to buy time, saying he has a plan, so Rakuro dashes forward, telling Emil to use her magic, as the lich tries to stop them, but they're able to dodge its attacks. Emil uses her magic, landing a direct hit, but it does nothing, and the lich continues to attack them. Billick is working on the horseman's sword, enchanting it with holy water, as he thinks about turning it into a weapon that can defeat the lich. Magical arms suddenly appear, and they start pursuing Rakuro, but he notes that they're nothing compared to the Tomguard's attacks, as he easily dodges them. Emil uses her magic again, but it has no effect, and the lich summons its clones, as Rakuro notes that they're using different weapons. They start attacking him, and Rakuro struggles to keep up with them. But Billick gives him the sword, explaining that it will work against the lich, but he wasn't able to improve its durability, so it will break after 8 swings, and Rakuro sees this as a challenge, knowing he's fighting against 7 opponents. He continues to dodge the lich's attacks, as a clone gets hit by friendly fire, but the lich also takes damage. So Rakuro realizes that the lich shares its HP with its clones, thinking it's low on health, because it wasn't able to endure its own attack. He comes up with a plan, telling Billick and Emil about it, and they think he's insane, but he tells them to go with it anyway, throwing Billick away. The clones attack Rakuro, but he dodges their attacks, and he activates the Overheat skill to increase his stats, revealing that he can only use it 10 minutes after combat begins. He combines it with Nitro Gain, which further increases his stats in exchange for his health, allowing him to activate Climax Boost by lowering his HP. Emil attacks a clone, creating an opening for Rakuro, who thinks the archer is the biggest threat, so he slices its head off, killing it in an instant. He starts fighting the other clones, as he notes that he needs to defeat them quickly because his buffs only last for 5 minutes. Billick observes his movements, realizing that he's incredibly skilled, so Billick decides to follow his plan. He's able to defeat the clones, as he notes that his sword will break after 2 hits, thinking it's enough to defeat the lich. He throws Emil, and she attacks the lich with her magic, leaving it wide open, as Rakuro stabs it with his skill. But he realizes that it's still alive, and Billick joins the fight, delivering the finishing blow, which completely destroys the lich's head, causing it to disintegrate. They celebrate their victory, as Rakuro reveals that he got the idea from his friends, but Emil crashes into Rakuro and she almost kills him, so he becomes upset, calling her an idiot. Billick thinks about restoring the sword, and Rakuro receives a bone fragment, but he thinks it's useless. The fog is lifted, and Rakuro thinks about climbing to the top, but Billick tells him it's time to leave. They head to the 8th city, and Billick asks Rakuro what they should do next, saying he wants to return to Rabbit Town to repair the sword. Rakuro explains that he wants to explore the city, telling Emil to wait for him in Rabbit Town because he thinks she'll attract too much attention. So Emil tells him to be careful, and they part ways, but instead of exploring the city, Rakuro returns to the canyon, thinking about climbing to the top because he wants to fight the crystal scorpions. He uses his skills to jump to the sky, and he starts climbing to the top, looking forward to seeing the scorpions. As he reaches the top, he realizes that it's filled with crystals, but it's difficult to navigate because the footing is terrible. A scorpion suddenly attacks him, but he dodges its attacks, and he notes that he can't defeat it, so he thinks about scouting the area before he leaves. But the ground suddenly starts shaking, and he becomes surrounded by the scorpions, as he recalls how Billick warned him that they attack as a swarm. They all lunge at him, as he realizes that he can't escape, and he ends up getting slaughtered. We see Emil waiting for Rakuro, thinking he can't return to Rabbit Town without her. But at that moment, Rakuro respawns behind her, cursing the scorpions, and she realizes that he returned to the canyon. So she becomes upset, reminding him that the scorpions are incredibly dangerous, but he gives her a carrot, and this lightens up her mood. He returns to the city, saying he's going to try again, because he wants to obtain rare items, and he promises Emil that he's going to succeed. He returns to the area, and he sees a shiny mineral, thinking he will get a rare item if he mines it, so he takes his pickaxe. But he accidentally hits a crystal, and this creates a loud noise, which attracts the scorpions. He immediately gets surrounded, but he refuses to give up, using all of his buffs to increase his speed, and he lunges at the mineral, planning to mine it at all costs. Rakuro ends up dying, and he becomes depressed, as Emil tells him that he doesn't stand a chance. But he reveals that he didn't die empty-handed, and we learn that he acquired a magic crystal, thinking he can sell it for profit. He decides to take a break, but he continues to think about the scorpions, and he recalls that they crashed into each other when he avoided their attacks, causing fragments to appear. So he becomes curious, wondering if he can pick them up, and he tells Emil to open the gate. She knows he's going to die again, but he doesn't care, saying he doesn't fear death, but he thinks about how he can pick up the fragments, knowing the scorpions will surround him the moment they see him. He sees Emil drinking a potion, saying it takes mana to open the gate, and this gives him an idea. Rakuro returns to the scorpions, and he becomes surrounded once again. They lunge at him, but he uses his skill to evade them, and they crash into each other, as their bodies break into pieces. He's about to fall to the ground, knowing they will kill him before he lands, so he uses his bracelet to teleport away. He hides at the storage, and he starts laughing, thinking the scorpions won't be able to kill him because he can teleport away. Moments later, he returns to the area, and he realizes that the scorpions are gone, but he sees the items they dropped. So he picks them up, thinking they're rare, because even the best players are struggling against the scorpions. He hits a crystal, and the scorpions attack him, as he thinks about farming their items by repeating his plan. He knows that he doesn't have to worry about his inventory, because the storage area allows him to leave his items inside, so he thinks about filling it with the items dropped by the scorpions. But after some time, he realizes that teleporting to the storage area has consumed his mana, so he thinks about doing one last run before returning to Emil. But as he checks his inventory, he realizes that he doesn't have a stinger, wondering why the scorpions aren't dropping it. He thinks it's the toughest part of the scorpion, so it must be an extremely rare item, and he decides to get it before he leaves the area. So he tries fighting a scorpion, thinking about using his weapons to destroy the stinger, so he uses his buffs, and he attacks it with everything he has, but he realizes that it's too tough. Countless scorpions appear, and they start attacking him, but he dodges their attacks, and he lands on a stinger as the scorpions prepare to take him down. But he teleports right before they hit him, and they end up hitting the stinger, causing it to crack. He immediately returns, attacking the stinger with his skill, and he's able to break it. But as he's about to acquire it, he realizes that he can't reach it, so he falls into despair, realizing that he failed. He returns to Emil, and he starts crying, because he wasn't able to get the stinger. He blames the goddess of luck, thinking she ruined his plan, and Emil realizes that he has gone mad, but he thinks about showing his items to Billick, thinking he's going to be amazed after he sees it. Billick can't believe all the materials he was able to obtain, and starts freaking out when he sees all the different rare gems. He also can't believe Rakuro got a set of the crystal scorpions, but Emil points out how he failed to get the stinger, but Rakuro shoves a carrot in her mouth. He wonders what kind of weapon Billick will be able to make him, so Billick mentions how he can make something from the ores and crystal scorpion parts, but the gems would be better in accessories, which will require a jeweler instead. Rakuro wonders if there are any jewelers in Rabbit Town, but when Billick reveals that there aren't any, he starts to lose it, but Billick mentions he has a contact. He doesn't want to call them, but Rakuro insists, so he calls for Ramus. A strange cat suddenly appears, offering his services, and Rakuro wonders if he's the jeweler, but Billick tells Ramus to ask his jeweler friend to make some accessories, showing him the grade of the materials they are working with. Ramus is amazed, and Emil mentions it was Rakuro who collected everything. Ramus becomes interested in him, and Billick also mentions how he's the one marked by the Night Slayer, as well as the one who defeated the Tomb Guard, but Ramus suddenly attacks him, trying to test him, and Billick beats him for messing around. Ramus asks Rakuro if he wants to use up all of the gems, and he promises to return with the best accessories as he teleports away. Rakuro asks to learn more about him, and Emil mentions he's stronger than he looks, because he's a vice captain from the Cat Kingdom Katsuria, and Billick admits Ramus is stronger than him. Rakuro logs out to take a break, but he gets an email from Katsuo and Asha, asking him to meet up to talk. But Rakuro finds this suspicious, thinking they are plotting something, but he decides to have a nap first. Rakuro returns to the game hyped up, but we see that he ignored his friends. He thinks about continuing their mission to help Billick advance, but we see him beating Ramus once again. Rakuro wonders why he's back, wondering where his jewels are, but Ramus assures him he delivered them already and came back so that he can assist them on their quest. Rakuro thinks it could be handy to have another NPC at over level 90 helping them, and Billick mentions Ramus will join them regardless, because the King of Katsuria learned about Rakuro and decided to support him with everything they have. Rakuro wonders why they would do this, but Billick mentions that because he defeated the Tomb Guard, which was one of the colossal monsters, he has a much higher reputation than he realizes. Rakuro wonders what else his reputation can do for him, so Billick mentions how the Night Slayer's mark makes him popular with the Lizard Men, but also warns him that if he's not careful, he could also start a war. We see them back at the 8th city, where Billick and Ramus argue under Rakuro's cloak. He thinks he just needs to act confident, but the other players start staring at them. They walk past a girl, but she stops and starts to stare as well. Emil starts freaking out, and the girl approaches them. Rakuro thinks she must want to know about his outfit, but the girl speaks with a man's voice, and he knows that the player who defeated the Tomb Guard also wore the same thing, asking for the chance to talk. Rakuro is still shocked he's talking to a man, and he introduces himself as the Professor, the leader of the library, which is a clan focused on learning about the lore of the game. Rakuro remembers reading about them when he first looked up the game, so he knows the clan is focused on gathering information from other players and clans. The Professor notes how in SLF, the unique quests are hidden and must be found by the players, but because the 7 colossal monsters are too hard to defeat, they hit a wall when it came to learning more about the game, but when he heard the Tomb Guard was defeated, his hope was restored, and he asks Rakuro to join him in exploring the truth of the world. We see Rakuro with Emil and the others, as they continue their quest to make Billick an ancient craftsman, but he doesn't like traveling with Ramus. Rakuro thinks they'll get swarmed by monsters soon, so he prepares for battle, and Emil returns to her original form. They see a man-made structure, which resembles the bones of a giant monster, and Rakuro wonders why it was built. We go back to when the Professor invited him to help explore the truth of the world, and he knows he can't discover everything about the game alone, so he agrees to join the Professor. He explains that he needs to take care of something before they get down to business, and notes that Asha knows a lot about the Tomb Guard, but the Professor knows she has a bad reputation. He tells Rakuro they'll meet again, and as he walks away, Rakuro wonders why his voice doesn't go well with his avatar. Back in the present, Rakuro is glad that the professor backed off after he heard Asha's name, and Bilik notes that he almost found out about them. But Rakuro reminds them that the professor leads a lore clan, so he probably already knows about them. Rakuro notes that they've reached their destination, and he prepares to look around, but Bilik warns him that there are golems in the area. A steel golem suddenly descends from the sky, and it attacks Rakuro with its flamethrower, so he runs around to avoid the flames. He prepares to finish it off, but Rammus destroys it with his primal slash, and notes that he'll take care of the enemies that stand in their way. Rakuro realizes his attack is so powerful that it destroyed the item drops, so Bilik smashes him in the head, and tells him not to use a dragon killer attack on a golem. Rakuro thinks the golems aren't a threat, but Bilik tells him there are stronger golems in the area, and notes that the most dangerous ones are born from local elements. A ball golem suddenly clings to his leg, and he panics as it prepares to self-destruct, but Bilik sends it flying, and it explodes in midair. Rakuro realizes it's one of the local element golems Bilik was talking about, and they see a boss creating ball golems, so they prepare to take it on. They get surrounded by its minions, and Rakuro runs as they explode, but he knows they won't stop coming until the boss is defeated. The golems jump toward Emil, but she destroys them with her magic, and Rammus uses his primal slash to clear a path, but he realizes there are too many of them. Rakuro thinks the golems are after Emil and Rammus, since they see them as major threats, but he tells Bilik it's their chance to defeat the boss. They run past the golems to close the distance, but the boss suddenly jumps away, and it clings to a pillar. It starts to bomb them with its minions, and Emil panics as a group of golems approaches her, but Rammus uses his primal slash to blow them away. His attack destroys the pillar, and the boss is about to fall, but it jumps away and continues to drop bombs. Bilik knows it will land soon, and tells Rakuro it's the perfect chance to try his new weapon, so he brings out the horseman's sword, and uses it to stab the boss. He shatters its body to expose its core, and Bilik smashes it with his hammer, but they realize it's about to explode, so they run for their lives. The explosion creates a powerful shockwave, so they get down, and we see that they were able to survive, but Bilik notes that they almost died. Rakuro realizes the boss dropped an item, so he reads its description, and realizes it works like a grenade. After that, Rakuro defeats another golem, and it drops a sword-denying idol, which attracts certain monsters. He notes that the horseman's sword is useful for stabbing enemies, but he doesn't have longsword skills, so he thinks he should just stick to his twin blades. He checks the map, and notes that the place they're looking for is like a workshop where people build things in secret, and he thinks they're close to it, since the golems they defeated were probably protecting it. Rakuro finds an underground passage, but they can't see the bottom, so they aren't sure if they should jump down. We see Asha and Katsuo watching them from a distance, but we learn that they want to kill Rakuro, since he isn't replying to their messages. Rakuro thinks they'll find the workshop at the bottom, and wonders how they're supposed to go down, but Asha and Katsuo suddenly appear behind him. He runs away, but Katsuo catches him with a rope, and he wonders how they found him, so Asha explains that they saw the crystal scorpion materials in their storage. They realized he was trying to do something without them, and predicted he would go there after he got the materials, so they went there to look for him. Katsuo asks about the rabbits, so he reveals that they're unique quest NPCs, but Katsuo becomes angry when he hears the word unique, since he's the only one who hasn't found anything extraordinary. Rakuro promises to explain everything after they're done, and asks his friends to help him, telling them he's looking for an item called the Magic Operations Unit, which they need so that they can repair the ether reactor. He thinks they'll find it at the bottom of the pit, so Katsuo uses his rope to go down, and he reaches a basement, so he tells the others to follow him. He finds it strange that the facility is still running, since the surface looks like a ruin, but he accidentally triggers an alarm, which causes a high-tech robot to appear. They realize they need to defeat it to reach the workshop, so Rammus attacks it with his primal slash, which causes an explosion as it hits the robot. But it manages to block the attack, so everyone realizes it's stronger than the golems they fought. Asha tells the rabbits not to worry, since the Wolfgang clan will take it down, and Rakuro uses his technique to slash it from behind. Katsuo tells him to keep it busy, so he runs across the wall and dodges its laser beams, while Katsuo and Bilik charge in. It blocks their attacks with its shields, but Katsuo notes that it made the wrong move, since it's now wide open. Rammus and Emil launch a combined attack, which cracks the robot's chest, and Asha throws her spear through the crack. Everyone realizes it isn't dead yet, so they all hit it while it's down, and it disappears as its HP reaches 0. Asha can't believe they won with a party that only has attackers, but they all celebrate their victory, and Rakuro asks her about her new spear. So she reveals that it's one of the 5 hero weapons in the game, and notes that she was able to unlock the hero job because of it. Katsuo can't open the door with his treasure hunter skill, and we learn that his success rate is low, since it's still at level 1. But he still keeps trying, and Asha notes that they need the help of the RNG gods, which makes Rakuro remember how unlucky he was in one of the games that they played. Katsuo finally opens the door, and he notes that it opens if it scans a legacy weapon, which Rakuro doesn't have, but Rakuro reminds him he still doesn't have anything unique. They see the lab, and they start to look for the magic operations unit, but Katsuo doesn't know what it looks like. Billick starts to describe it, but he notices Emil wearing it like a hat, so he notes that they've finally found it. Rakuro thinks they should return to Rabbit Town immediately, but Asha and Katsuo stop him, and remind him that they need to discuss something with him. As they leave, Katsuo and Asha reveal that people have been bothering them about Rakuro, since everyone knows they worked with him to defeat the Tomb Guard. He wonders if the professor has come to meet them, so Asha realizes he sold her out to him, and notes that she doesn't want to answer his questions. Rakuro explains that he just wants to enjoy the game, and tells his friends he needs to take the magic operations unit to Rabbit Town, but Billick notes that he can do it himself. As they walk around the town, Asha wonders why Rakuro is wearing a strange cloth, so he explains that it's the best way to hide his appearance. He reveals that it's a headpiece, so he can wear it despite the Nightslayer's mark, and they head to an alley, where Billick and Rammus take the door to Rabbit Town. After the door disappears, Rakuro tells Emil she should have joined them, since he doesn't know what his friends will do next. But Animalia suddenly appears with a group of people, and they go berserk when they see Emil. They all rush toward her, so Rakuro prepares to run away, but his friends stop him, and he realizes they sold him out. They tell him he deserves it, but he knows Emil is the one they're after, so he throws her toward them. They start to fight over her, and she can't believe he would betray her, but he thinks he had no other choice. Siger 100 appears behind him, and tells him she wants to talk, but Asha starts to tease her, so he wonders if they know each other in real life. The professor joins them, and reveals that Asha told him to come there, but Rakuro wonders why she would do that. They head to a private room, and Asha tells Rakuro to answer everyone's questions, so that they will stop looking for him. Siger asks him about the Nightslayer, promising to help him remove its mark in return, and she reveals that her clan plans to hunt it down. She notes that her clanmates have encountered it multiple times, but it destroyed them before they could learn anything about it, so they need him to tell them what he knows. He decides to give her what she wants, but plans not to mention the unique scenario in Rabbit Town, since he thinks Animalia won't stop bothering him if she learns about it. He explains that unique monsters can't be defeated just by fighting them, and Asha agrees with him, telling everyone they need to trigger scenario flags to defeat the Nightslayer. Siger thinks they can find the flag in the new continent, and Asha thinks it's possible, but the professor hopes his wife isn't causing trouble for them. Siger talks to him about his wife, so Rakuro wonders if they also know each other in real life, and the professor tells everyone about the unique monsters that have been identified. The first one is the Nightslayer, which has been seen through random encounters, but the sea monster called the Abyss has never been seen by the players, since it hides at the bottom of the ocean. The Sky Ruler is a golden dragon, which also appears as a random encounter, but nobody has ever fought it, since the players can't reach it while it's flying. Little is known about the fourth monster known as the Doom Echo, since a player only learned about it in the Royal Library, but it's said to have the power to control nature's wrath. The last one is the Tomb Guard, which Rakuro and his friends have already defeated, but Katsuo tries to sneak away, so Rakuro stops him and tells him he can't leave. The professor notes that his team looked into the unique monsters, but most of the information about them is already available online. Asha shows him the Tome of Truth, which contains information about the Tomb Guard, and he's desperate to read it. She mentions he will have to pay, so he tells her to name her price, but Rakuro and Katsuo know it's full of useless information. Asha asks Rakuro about the Nightslayer again, so he reveals that he doesn't know much about it, but he learned its attack patterns when he fought it. He starts to tell her how it moves, and even explains how to counter it, but he notes that its attacks are deadly, since it has the Corrode attribute. She's impressed by how much he knows, since he only fought it once, and she thinks he's so skilled that he could shake up the game. He notes that the Night Slayer defeated him with a move he couldn't see, and he doesn't know how it hit him, but he thinks it's an ability they know nothing about. He admits that he still lacks information since he only fought it once, but Siger finds him interesting. She invites him to work with her clan, but Animalia interrupts her and asks him about the rabbit town. He thinks she wants to learn about his unique scenario, but she explains that she just wants a free pass so that she can visit the land of the rabbits. She knows about a unique scenario where the player must defeat the boss to save the town, but she explains that they're forced to leave after they complete the quest. She knows that Rakuro can go to the town whenever he wants, and she wonders how he does it, but he notes that Emil can explain everything to her. They realize she's unconscious, and they can't wake her up, but Rakuro tells her they have parfait, so she instantly wakes up. He asks her if it's possible to invite players to Rabbit Town after they complete their unique quests, so she explains that she doesn't know. But she thinks her eldest brother might be able to do it, since he's the king of the Rabbit Town. Rakuro wants to talk to him, so she leaves to look for him, and the professor buys the Tome of Truth for 100 million. He immediately starts to read it, while Asha notes that she has an important question for everyone and asks them if they want to form a clan alliance. Siger realizes it's the reason why she called all of them, and they all see no reason to refuse, so they agree to be allies. After that, Rakuro and his friends are glad the meeting is over, but Katsu wonders why he gave away info about the Night Slayer, so he explains that it isn't worth much since it's just the attack pattern. Katsu tells him he's wrong, since attack patterns are valuable in full dive games, and Asha is worried about Animalia, since she doesn't know what will happen if her clan gets the free pass. She thinks they should call it a win, since they were able to form an alliance, and she notes that they hold 5 major cards at the moment. She explains that they have info on Bahamut, as well as the legacy weapons in their storage, and they also have access to Bilik, who will become the only ancient craftsman in this world. She adds that Rakuro holds all the info about Rabbit Town, and they have the inside track on the next unique scenario, so she thinks they have enough to stay ahead of the other clans. As they part ways, Rakuro's friends tell him to reply to their messages next time, and he decides to hunt more crystal scorpions before he returns to Rabbit Town. We see Rakuro running from the scorpions, and he gets surrounded, so he teleports to the storage. He knows his timing was perfect, so he thinks they crashed into each other again, and looks forward to seeing their loot when he returns. He leaves the storage, but realizes there are no item drops, so he wonders how the scorpions survived. The ground suddenly shakes, and a scorpion hits him with a surprise attack, which kills him in an instant. He realizes their behavior has changed, and blames the devs for his death, since he knows they updated the game. After that, Rakuro logs out, and learns that the monster's combat patterns changed with the latest update. He realizes he needs to change his tactics, but his energy drink falls off his table, and he catches it before it hits the ground. He comes up with an idea, and thinks he can use gravity to defeat the scorpions, but he knows he needs a skill to execute his plan. He sees a skill called Skywalker, and thinks it's exactly what he needs, so he decides to learn it. Rakuro returns to the game, and Emil notes that her brother needs time to think things over, but Bilik wants to see him, so they head to his forge. Rakuro is surprised to see him wearing the Magic Operations unit, and he explains that he'll use it to analyze a legacy weapon, so that he can learn to make divine equipment. Rakuro gives him a legacy weapon, so he prepares to get to work, and tells Rakuro to come back in a day. But he asks Rakuro to bring him crystal scorpion materials, since he wants to use them to make a legacy weapon. He explains that he might mess up on his first attempt, so he'll need a lot of them, since he plans to make a masterpiece. He begs Rakuro to fulfill his request, so Rakuro reveals he already has the materials, and Bilik wonders if he wants twin blades, but he actually wants something else. After that, Rakuro visits Pete's shop, and shows him the sword-denying idol, but he realizes it's extremely rare, so he offers to buy it for 300,000. Rakuro can't believe it's worth that much, and Pete promises to pay him a fortune if he returns with the idols of the unique monsters. Rakuro buys Emil a spell book, and she's excited to learn a new spell, but he notes that they need to start grinding, since he needs to learn the Skywalker skill to defeat the scorpions. They head to the Canyon of Ancient Souls, where Rakuro chases after a zombie, and Emil uses her new spell to restrain it. He finishes it off, but thinks he must farm more XP, since he needs to level up to learn Skywalker. He sees the headless horseman, so he fights it with his sword, and Emil restrains it with her chains. He jumps up high and slices it in half, and as he levels up, he realizes he was finally able to learn the new skill. After that, Rakuro tells Emil he needs to go alone, so she returns to Rabbit Town, and he heads to the Crystal Scorpions. He throws a stone to wake them up, and they jump to attack him, but he runs away and tells the other scorpions to chase him. He thinks about how the gravity in SLF is the same as in real life, and he knows he can't beat the scorpions in a fair fight, but he runs towards a cliff and jumps off. The scorpions stop themselves, but there are too many of them, and they end up pushing each other down the cliff. He knows he'll also die if he hits the ground, but he steps on the air, and uses his Skywalker skill to jump toward the wall. He stabs a crystal to stay in place, and as he watches the scorpions fall to their deaths, he thinks about how perfect his plan is. He thinks he's about to level up since he beat a lot of scorpions, but nothing happens, and he wonders why he didn't earn XP. A scorpion appears behind him, so he prepares to take it on, but a golden scorpion crushes it to death, and he realizes it caught the ones that fell down the pit. He runs for his life, but it chases after him, and he knows he can't drive it off the cliff since it's alone, so he decides to fight it head-on. He lands a hit, but realizes he can't break through its shell, and as he dodges its attacks, he notices that it's faster than the other scorpions. It launches poison at him, so he jumps away and attacks it from above, but it blocks with its pincers. He realizes it excels in both offense and defense, and it prepares to launch poison at him again, but he isn't worried since he's confident he can dodge it. It fires a scatter shot, which catches him off guard, and he knows he can't dodge it, so he teleports to the storage. He realizes he almost died, but he calms down, and thinks about how he can only teleport there 6 more times, since he doesn't have a lot of mana. He leaves the storage, and runs as he blocks the scorpion's attacks, but he knows he'll be forced to teleport if it fires its scatter poison again, so he thinks he needs to cut off its stinger. He jumps up high and sees gaps in its shell, so he brings out his Empire B twin blades, and stabs through one of the cracks. The scorpion gets infected by corrosive poison, and he realizes his attack is effective, but it suddenly jumps away and regenerates. He realizes the scorpion is a flawless monster, but thinks he can't defeat the Night Slayer if he can't even take it down, so he rushes forward and continues the fight. He stabs through a gap in its shell, but it pushes him back and regenerates again, and he thinks he must counter its regeneration to stand a chance. He continues to aim for the cracks, but his weapon is about to break, so he equips his moonblades and launches a flurry of slashes. It fires its scatter poison, so he teleports to the storage again, and returns to continue the fight, but he realizes it's about to regenerate. He brings out his marsh dagger and throws it at the scorpion's eye, which stops it from regenerating, and he pushes the dagger with his hand of fortune. The scorpion falls off, but it immediately recovers, and he combines his moonblades to form the twin moon. He dives toward the scorpion and slashes its stinger with everything he has, and he manages to cut it off, but the scorpion's pincer is about to hit him. He uses his Skywalker to avoid it, and he knows the stinger is a rare item, so he sends it to the storage. The scorpion suddenly goes berserk, and Rakuro realizes he's surrounded, but he knows he can only teleport one more time, so he decides not to do it. He comes up with a plan, and activates his skate foot to run away, so the scorpions chase after him. He wakes up the other scorpions, and the golden one catches up to him, but he jumps away and stabs it in the other eye. It's now completely blind, but Rakuro tells it to be careful, since he knows that the other scorpions are also its enemies, and he teleports away. The scorpions gang up on it while he's gone, and after a while, he decides to return when he thinks things are over. He sees a golden pincer on the ground, so he celebrates his victory, but the scorpion suddenly attacks him, and he can't believe it's still alive. He realizes he needs to defeat it himself, and he knows he's out of mana, but he thinks he can defeat it since it's severely injured. He jumps to attack it, but it blows him away with its mana, and he realizes it's hard to get close to it, so he throws his blasting earth idol. It dances before the scorpion, which smashes it with its pincer, but it explodes as its dance reaches its climax. Rakuro realizes the pincer has been damaged, so he rushes forward and cuts it off, and the scorpion crashes to the ground. He realizes it's out of weapons, so he prepares to finish it off, but he's suddenly disarmed by its tail. He can't believe it can still move its tail, and thinks he can't defeat it since he's also out of weapons, but he suddenly remembers his marsh daggers, so he uses his Skywalker to reach them. He grabs them and activates his glowing pierce skill to finish the scorpion off, and after its body disappears, he levels up straight to level 99. The next day, Rakuro returns to Rabbit Town and shows Billick the golden scorpion's stinger, which makes him lose it. He can't believe Rakuro defeated a golden scorpion, but he shows Billick the other items it dropped, and reveals that he even has its core. He gives the core to Billick, and thinks he can use it to craft his masterpiece, but Rakuro realizes he's stopped moving, and thinks he must be dead. He punches Rakuro and tells him he's still alive, but admits that he was amazed by the items. He reveals that he has already fixed the ether reactor, since he has reached the level of ancient craftsman, so Rakuro celebrates, and plans to use it to power up the SF suits. Billick wonders what he's talking about, so he mentions the suits in the storage, and notes that he already knows which one to use. He teleports to the storage, and sets the reactor to the suit he wants, but nothing happens, and he realizes he can't wear it because of the Night Slayer's mark. He returns to Billick and Emil, and tells them what happened. He doesn't want his friends to use the reactor to power up the suits, so he decides to go into hiding, and notes that he'll return when his mental health recovers. After that, Rakuro is depressed since he can't use the suits, and he asks Rumi what she would do if she saved up to buy an outfit she always wanted, only to find out that she can't wear it. She explains that she'll just wear another outfit and forget about it, and he screams as he comes up with an idea, but she's angry since he made her spill her drink. He returns to his room, and logs into a mecha game called Nephilim Hollow, where he pilots a robot called the Kingfisher. He checks the rankings, and we learn that he hasn't logged into the game for 3 months, so he's no longer on the leaderboards, but he recalls that his fight with the top player ended in a tie. A robot suddenly approaches him, and he sees its pilot Ballman, who recognizes him as his rival. He challenges him to a fight, but Rakuro can't even remember him, so he becomes upset, and notes that he'll show Rakuro what the number 2 player is made of. Rakuro accepts the challenge, and as their fight begins, Ballman fires his energy cannon, but Rakuro flies away to dodge his attacks. We learn that the Kingfisher has excellent speed, but its energy tank can only last 3 minutes, so Rakuro thinks he needs to end the fight quickly. He fires back, but misses since he has become rusty, and we learn that he decided to play the game even though it isn't trash, because it allows him to control his robot with his thoughts. Ballman tells him he can't win by just flying away, and he fires his special laser, which ricochets as it hits the ground, but Rakuro still manages to avoid it. He realizes his muscle memory is back, but Ballman suddenly appears behind him and smashes him with his gauntlet. Rakuro crashes to the ground, but we see that Ballman lost his cannon since Rakuro destroyed it just as the attack hit him. He thinks Rakuro is done for since he was able to crush his wings, and Rakuro knows he's in trouble, but he comes up with an idea. Ballman prepares to finish him off, but he jumps out of the rubble, so Ballman chases after him. But he realizes it was just a decoy, and Rakuro destroys him while he's wide open. He celebrates his victory, but Ballman demands a rematch, and notes that he'll become the number 1 player in the game. But a robot suddenly appears above them, and they see the top player Rust, who challenges Rakuro to take her on. We go back to when Rakuro was fighting Ballman, and Rust's operator Mold realizes Rakuro has returned to the game. He runs to tell Rust about it, and she becomes excited when she sees Rakuro's fight. But she knows he'll win the duel, and she decides to look for him since she wants to be his next opponent. Back in the present, Rust wonders why Rakuro didn't log in for 3 months, so he explains that he can't remember, but thinks it's because he found another trash game to play. She becomes angry and tells him to fight her, so he accepts her challenge, and Ballman is teleported to the spectator lobby. He realizes the other players are excited to watch the duel, since they know that Rakuro is the only one who fought Rust to a tie, and they cheer as the fight begins. Rakuro flies around the city as he opens fire, so Rust chases after him and launches her homing missiles, but he shoots them down. She catches up to him and attacks with her blades, but he kicks her into a building and prepares to shoot her. But she fires her laser beams, which force him to retreat. He continues to fly away, so she chases him around, but he takes out his sword and hides behind the buildings. He launches a surprise attack, but she blocks it and overwhelms him with her speed, so he jumps away and fires his explosive rounds, but she manages to dodge all of them. The spectators cheer as they watch the fight, and Ballman realizes Rakuro is the only one who can defeat Rust, so he starts to root for him. Rakuro rushes forward, while Rust charges up her blades as she prepares to clash with him, and Ballman hopes Rakuro comes out on top. But she cuts him down, and everyone goes wild as she wins the fight. Rakuro realizes he got too aggressive, but Rust wonders why he didn't dodge her attack, so he explains that he lost his touch since he was out for 3 months. He adds that he needs to go over his build since the meta has changed, so she realizes she didn't beat him at his best, and tells him to fight her again. He refuses since he knows he'll just lose again, so she becomes upset, and everyone can't believe she lost her cool, because it has never happened before. Rakuro agrees to a rematch, but notes that they should fight the next day, since he needs time to build a new mech. She tells him not to let her down, and after she leaves, he wonders why she's still using the same robot after 3 months, so Ballman explains that she won't change it until she loses to someone. Rakuro learns that she's never lost before, but it only makes him excited, and he's determined to defeat her so that she'll change her mech. We learn that in this game, countless giants fell into the planet and destroyed everything, so the humans invented the robots called Nephilims, which are the perfect fusion of humans and giants. Rakuro finishes reading the backstory, and we learn that he didn't know about it, since he skipped the game's opening. Ballman points him to a group of giants, and explains that the one with closed eyes is a base body added in the recent update, but nobody uses it since it's hard to use. Rakuro wants to experiment with it, so he uses Kingfisher to take down its companions, and stabs it in the neck to capture it. He heads to the black market, where he buys weapons and armor to customize his new mech, and he meets other players, who tell him they're counting on him to defeat Rust. He wonders why everyone wants her to lose, so Ballman explains that they respect her, but they want her to change her Crimson Twinewing mech, so that they can see her use other robots. He asks Rakuro about the build he plans to use, so he explains that he doesn't know yet, but he admits that his Kingfisher is no match for Crimson Twinewing's speed. He knows that Mold has already told Rust his moves, and Ballman notes that it's hard to fool Mold, but Rakuro thinks he has discovered Rust's weakness. The next day, everyone gathers to watch the duel, and Rakuro appears in his new mech called the Fiddler Crab, but Rust wonders how he plans to defeat her with a heavyweight robot. Mold notices it has an oversized claw, but he knows it's a close-range weapon with a slow attack speed, so he thinks it will never hit the Crimson Twinewing. Rakuro is confident he can defeat Rust, so she tells him to bring it on, and everyone becomes nervous as the fight begins. She launches her homing missiles, but he activates his boosters to dodge them, and Mold warns her about his head part, but she doesn't listen. She fires her laser beams, but he dodges them and activates his head part to turn invisible. Ballman reveals that invisibility has a major issue in this game, since it only affects the robot itself, and we see that Rust can still see Rakuro's boosters. She fires her missiles, which cause a massive explosion, and she thinks she got him, but Mold senses that something's wrong. He realizes Rakuro is up to something, so he warns her to escape, but Rakuro suddenly appears behind her and breaks her arm. She wonders how Rakuro snuck up on her, so Mold explains that the booster effect was a bait, and notes that Rakuro switched to anti-gravity legs just before the missiles exploded. He turns invisible again, but Mold knows it's only temporary, so he tells Rust to stay away from him until his invisibility wears off, but she decides to fight him head-on. The spectators realize he has a chance, so they start to cheer for him, but Ballman thinks he'll lose if he screws up. He dashes around her to cover the area with dust, and prepares to attack her from behind, but she suddenly turns around and cuts his arm off. He admits that he's impressed by how she countered his attack, but thinks it doesn't matter, since he still has his trump card. He launches his capture net, so she activates her main booster as she prepares to dodge it, but Ballman recalls how Rakuro told him he can make her movements predictable by destroying the booster strapped to her shoulders. Rust dashes away, but Rakuro jumps in front of her and attacks her with the saw hidden on his back. He lands a direct hit, and we see that she was able to stab him, but he thinks it doesn't matter since his mech is more durable, and he cuts her until she explodes. The spectators celebrate as he wins the fight, and they look forward to seeing her new mech, while Mold admits that he couldn't see through Rakuro's plan. Rust tells Rakuro that they each won once, so she wants to break the tie, but he explains that he needs to go back to his main game. The players want him to keep logging in, since they enjoy watching him fight, and Rust tells him not to leave the game, but he notes that he only went there to blow off steam, since he couldn't use the robots in SLF. Everyone realizes it's his main game, and Rust reveals that she used to play it, but she never saw the robots he mentioned. She wants to see them, so she offers to tell him about the unique scenario that leads to the abyss, in exchange for information about the robots. They head to a rooftop, since Rakuro doesn't want the others to hear about their deal, and he recalls how the professor told him no player has ever seen the abyss, so he wonders how Rust learned about it. He explains that before he fulfills his end of the deal, he must first confirm that their info is useful, since he shares the robots with his friends, and he knows they might kill him if he makes a mistake. Mold notes that there's an NPC called the Great Pirate in the 5th town, who will ask the player to pursue a ghost ship, which offers the people it kidnaps to the Master of the Abyss. But Mold explains that Rust left SLF after they accepted the quest, because she didn't see any robots. Rakuro notes that their information isn't enough, since he isn't sure if it will lead to the Abyss, and he explains that the unique quest is supposed to have an EX attached to its name. He thinks it might lead to an EX unique scenario after they complete it, and he offers to help them with the ghost ship, but Rust asks him if he plans to quit Nephilim Hollow. He reminds her that he defeated her Crimson Twinewing, so he wants her to build another mech, and promises to return after she gets a new robot. She shows him her new mech, and reveals that it's called Ashen, but he wonders why she already has a robot in reserve, so Mold reveals that she worked on it during her free time. The other players are amazed to see her new build, and Rakuro knows his Fiddler Crab is no match for it, but he agrees to fight her anyway. The other players are sent to the spectator area, and they all cheer for Rust, as she clashes with Rakuro again. After that, Rakuro logs out of the game, and he notes that he had fun, since the players know how to entertain him. Emil waits for Rakuro to return, and her brother Sikru asks her about their father, so she reveals that she doesn't know where to find him. She wonders if Sikru needs anything from him, so he reveals that he wants him to meet a human he found, who's a skilled fighter like Rakuro. He introduces Emil to her, so she removes her mask, and reveals herself as Akane. Rakuro returns to Rabbit Town, and Emil tells him about Akane, so he realizes another player unlocked the Rabbit unique scenario. He doesn't want Akane to get the EX unique scenario he unlocked, since he wants to be the only one who knows about it, and he recalls that he promised to meet Rust and Mold in the 5th town. He wants to meet Akane, but Emil reveals that she logged out, so Rakuro realizes he needs to rely on the RNG gods, and hopes she doesn't tell the others about the unique quest. He tells Emil he needs to go to the 5th town, but he knows it will be a long trip, so he isn't sure if he can make it there on time. Emil wants to go with him, but he tells her to stay there, and notes that he has an important mission for her. He shows her a carrot, as he tells her to report to him when Akane returns, and she wants to eat it, so she promises to do her best. He prepares to leave, but Billick suddenly joins them and shows Rakuro his masterpiece. Rakuro realizes it's the gauntlets he told him to make, but he isn't sure if he can wear them on his arms, since he didn't expect them to be that massive. Billick assures him he'll have no problem using them, and prepares to tell him what he can do with them, but Rakuro notes that he'll just test them out, and leaves in a hurry. He wonders how he's supposed to reach the 5th town in one day, and he knows he's already at level 99, but he thinks it will be harder to play alone, since he's now in the second half of the game. He thinks he needs help, but he doesn't want his friends to know what he's up to, so he decides to invite Ray instead. Siger receives a letter from Animalia, which reveals that she's interested in the Night Slayer, and the members of Schwartz-Wolf note that she also reached out to them. Ray receives a letter as well, and they think it's also from Animalia, but she realizes it's an invitation from Rakuro, so she becomes excited and decides to log out. We see her in her room, and she's flustered since Rakuro sent her an invitation, but he wonders why she's suddenly logged out, and thinks it's because he reached out to her at a bad time. After that, Rakuro realizes he can't equip his gauntlets, since his vitality isn't high enough, so he starts to lose it. He comes up with an idea, and realizes he can use it if he equips the helmet that he used to fight the Tomb Guard, since it boosts his vitality by 500. He assigns his leftover points to strengthen technique, and he receives Ray's reply, which mentions that she has agreed to work with him. He realizes their meeting spot is in the 11th town, which is just past the ruins, and he decides to defeat the area boss before he meets her. As he runs through the ruins, he thinks about how the players don't avoid the area, because the boss is a pushover, and he sees a pile of scraps, which transforms into a massive golem. He realizes it's the area boss, and he can't believe how big it is, but he knows it turned into a punching bag after everyone learned about its weakness. He knows a veteran player set a record by defeating it in 1 minute, and he wants to beat that record, so he rushes forward with his skate foot, and uses his secret arts to create a decoy. As the boss attacks it, he runs around it and activates his mobility skill, which allows him to climb its body with incredible speed. But it attacks him as his decoy disappears, so he jumps with his fleet float to reach the top. He sees a giant machine, and knows he just needs to destroy its supporting columns to defeat the golem, so he equips his helmet and gauntlets. He smashes one of the columns with his hand of fortune, which breaks it into pieces, and he prepares to destroy the other, but his mobility buff suddenly wears off. He dodges the boss's attacks, and knows he can't break the record if he just runs to the other column, so he fires a crystal bullet, and steps on it as he activates his gauntlet skill to make it grow. It launches him toward the column, and he attacks it with a barrage of punches, which causes it to explode. The machine starts to fall, and he realizes it's about to crush him, so he jumps away and uses his fleet float to land safely. The machine crushes the boss's core, and he realizes he broke the record, so he celebrates his victory, and thinks his gauntlets are extremely useful. Rakuro reaches the 11th town, and buys a sash from an armor shop, since it gives him 400 vitality, which is enough for him to use his gauntlets. As he leaves the shop, he hears players talking about Rei, and they mention that she's been waiting in the town for an hour. He thinks he's late, so he rushes to meet her, and apologizes for making her wait, but she explains that it's okay since she came an hour early. He asks her to help him clear the Lightless Barrens, and wonders what she wants in return, but she tells him she'll do it for free. We learn that she just wants to get closer to him, but he's afraid of her since he thinks she's up to something, and she tells him they should get going. She shows him around the Lightless Barrens, and explains that it's the site of a battlefield, but he notices a giant arm, which makes him wonder how big the fighters were. She notes that there are no monsters of that size in SLF, but the library is trying to figure out what happened in the past, and Rakuro recalls that he saw a monster's hologram in the lab. He wonders if it's connected to the arm, and he also remembers how Setsuna told him to find Bahamut, but he thinks it's hard to understand the lore with the info he has, so he needs to dig deeper. Rei asks him about the players he'll meet in the 5th town, so he notes that one of them is a girl, but a monster suddenly charges at them. Rakuro prepares to take it on, but Rei defeats it with a single blow, and asks him if the girl is his friend. He explains that she isn't, since he's never met her in the game, so Rei realizes she still has a chance. She thinks she needs to get closer to him before they reach the 5th town, but he finds her scary, since he doesn't know what's going through her mind. After that, we see another monster chasing Rakuro, but Rei slashes it in half, and she's amazed that even though they've encountered several monsters, he still hasn't taken a hit. He explains that his health is so low that he'll die from a single hit, and notes that he can't wear armor because of the Nightslayer's mark, so she tells him they should get rid of it. He explains that he's still thinking about it, since it helps scare monsters away, but he notes that he wants to get rid of the marks on his legs. He recalls that Saiger told him about an NPC named Eris, who can remove all types of curses, but it's hard to reach her since there are high-level players protecting her. He knows Saiger can help him talk to her, but he explains that he isn't in a hurry to remove his curse, so they should just focus on clearing the Barrens. Rei reveals her real name, and tells him to use it when he talks to her, so he agrees to do it, but wonders why her name sounds familiar. She tells him she knows a shortcut to the area boss, and notes that she can show him the way, so he starts to follow her. But after an hour, we see that they still haven't reached the boss, and he wonders if she knows where she's going. She starts to look around, so he realizes they're lost, but he doesn't know what to do, since he's afraid that she might kill him if he makes her angry. He stares at the moon, and notes that it's beautiful, but she becomes flustered, and notes that she knows the poet who said that. A spell almost hits Rei, so they prepare to fight, but they realize Animalia was the one who attacked them. She tells them to turn back, and warns them that her clan will destroy them if they don't cooperate, but Rakuro wonders if she's upset since he didn't reply to her message. She tells him to forget about it, since Asha already gave her all the answers she needs, and she reveals that she paid off Asha's debt in exchange for info about the rabbit unique scenario. Rakuro thinks Asha sold him out, but Animalia notes that to trigger the unique scenario, they need to land 100 critical hits on the Nightslayer. She thinks they can visit Rabbit Town after they trigger the scenario, but Rakuro realizes they've been fooled, since Asha gave them wrong information. He wonders why Animalia is guarding the area instead of looking for the Night Slayer, but she explains that her clan has studied the behavior of monsters, so they know where the Night Slayer will appear. A dark cloud covers the moon, and a mysterious energy falls from the sky as the Night Slayer suddenly appears. Everyone's intimidated by its presence, but Animalia tells her clanmates to use their anti-dragon tactic, so they get into formation. Rakuro and Rei think about joining the fight, but she tells them to just sit back and relax, since her clan is about to show them what they're made of. The tanks raise their shields and enhance their durability, but Rakuro wonders how they plan to defeat the Night Slayer, since they only have 5 tanks and 10 debuffers. It sends one of the tanks flying, and he takes massive damage, but we see that he was able to survive, and Rakuro is impressed by his durability. The tanks keep the Night Slayer busy, while the debuffers cast their binding spells, so it moves to dodge them, but 2 of its legs are hit. It bites off one of the chains, but the debuffers continue to cast their spells, and they manage to hit its neck. They realize it's about to break free, so one of them strengthens the chain around its neck, and Animalia summons the hands of Tadaris to pin it to the ground. Her clan celebrates since they were able to capture it, and they start to take pictures of it, but Animalia reminds them of their goal to trigger the unique scenario. Rei thinks they'll be able to unlock it, but Rakuro disagrees, since he knows that Asha tricked them. He's impressed that they were able to catch the Night Slayer, but the clouds suddenly cover the moon again, and dark energy comes out of its body. Rakuro notices it, and realizes he was wrong about the Night Slayer, since he thought it was just a creature that attacked at night, but it's actually the darkness of night itself. Animalia senses the night staring at her, and the Night Slayer suddenly slams into her, so everyone starts to panic. Her clanmates can't believe it, since they know the Night Slayer shouldn't be able to move, but they see it as it bites into her, and they wonder why it has 2 bodies. They prepare to rescue her, but it throws her to the sky, and she thinks about how she's allergic to animals in real life, so she was glad that SLF gave her the chance to play with them. But she knows the Night Slayer is nothing like the other animals, and it bites her as it finishes her off. It suddenly disappears, so everyone wonders where it went, but it appears behind one of the debuffers and crushes her in an instant. Rakuro realizes it can travel through the darkness, and as it continues to slaughter Animalia's clanmates, he recalls how it killed him with an attack he couldn't see. He thinks he has figured out its secret, and as the clouds stop covering the moon, the Night Slayer's main body breaks free, while its clone disappears. It sees a debuffer on the ground, so it finishes her off, and Rei asks Rakuro what they should do, since Animalia's clan has been wiped out. She prepares to fight it, but he's worried that she might trigger the EX unique scenario that she needs to defeat it, and return with Schwarzwolf to hunt it down. He doesn't want her to learn more about the Night Slayer, so he considers just letting it kill them, but he thinks it's a lame thing to do since he's a hardcore gamer. She notices that something's bothering him, since he isn't acting like his usual self, and she recalls that the first time she saw him, he was running through the rain with a smile on his face. She wanted to know why he was smiling, so she followed him to the game shop, where she learned that his games made him happy. She immediately felt attracted to him, and decided to play games as well, since she thought it would give her a chance to get close to him. Back in the present, Rei realizes that something is holding Rakuro back, so she tells him she doesn't really care about the Night Slayer. She explains that she just wants to defeat it since it's an in-game monster, and she doesn't really care if they win or lose, because she thinks they should just enjoy the game to the fullest. He agrees with everything she said, so he decides to fight, and thanks her for opening his eyes. They form a party, and as they rush toward the Night Slayer, he thinks they can defeat it since he's already at level 99. He parries its attacks, and Rei hits it with her Supreme Divine Slash, but it has no effect, and the Night Slayer sends her flying. She realizes her usual attacks can't cut it, so he tells her to find an opening while he distracts it, and hit it with a stronger move. It summons its clone to attack him, but he manages to avoid it, and notes that he has studied its moves, so he knows that its clone can travel through the shadows, but it can only perform simple actions. He explains that he has only seen it lunge at its targets, and realizes it can't follow up if it misses, so he thinks it's easy to dodge its attacks, as long as he pays attention to the shadows. But he's worried about the move that killed Animalia, since he won't be able to see anything if the clouds cover the moon. He thinks they must defeat the Night Slayer while the moon is still visible, and it continues to attack him. But Rei hits it with her Apocalypse skill, and Rakuro realizes she was able to damage its leg. It turns its attention to her, and she tells him to attack it while she keeps it distracted, so he prepares to use his gauntlets. the Night Slayer suddenly disappears, and he realizes it's behind him, so he jumps away to dodge its attack. He thinks it won't follow up since it's just a clone, but Ray tells him it's the main body, and it smashes him to the ground. Ray thinks that it got him, but he jumps out of the rubble, and she can't believe he's still alive, but we learn that he only survived because he teleported to the storage. He realizes the Night Slayer's main body can also move through the shadows, and he knows it hid its powers from them so that it could catch them by surprise. He thinks it can understand player speech, since it's been using what they're saying to toy with them, but he becomes thrilled, since he's never seen such a smart AI before. It rushes toward him, but he dodges its attack and creates a decoy, which keeps the Night Slayer busy, so he realizes it can't ignore skill mechanics no matter how smart it is. Ray tells him she has an ultimate move, and explains that it's the reason everyone calls her the Attack Master. But she needs to fulfill trigger conditions before she can use it, and they're difficult to pull off against the Night Slayer. She thinks she can do it if Rakuro helps her, so he promises to do his part, and tells her he's counting on her. His decoy disappears, but he suddenly charges in, and smashes the Night Slayer in the face. It immediately recovers, but he dodges its attacks, and he recalls how Ray told him she needs to land 5 hits each with her Apocalypse and Catastrophe skills, so that she can use her ultimate. She transforms into her Satan form, and lands a critical with her Catastrophe, but the Night Slayer recognizes her as a threat, so Rakuro attacks it to get its attention. He parries its attacks, but Ray warns him that the clouds are about to cover the moon, so he realizes it's about to use the move that killed Animalia. He recalls that there was a faint sound when its clone appeared, and thinks he can dodge it if he focuses all of his senses, but he thinks he can't do it since he's busy with the main body. As the cloud covers the moon, the Night Slayer's clone attacks him from behind, so he teleports to safety, but he's annoyed since he had to rely on his storage again. He drinks a potion to recover his mana, but realizes he doesn't have a lot of recovery items, since he didn't have time to prepare for his fight with the Night Slayer. He knows he's doomed if he can't counter its invisible clone, but a helmet catches his eye, because he thinks it's exactly what he needs. Ray struggles to stay alive, and she's worried since she's about to run out of recovery items, but Rakuro suddenly returns, and he creates a decoy to keep the Night Slayer distracted. She notices he's wearing a helmet called the Atabane, and he tells her it's a game changer, so it's time to make their comeback. He uses the reactor to create a mechanical bird called Suzaku, and realizes he can control it with his helmet, so he orders it to do something for him. It promises to complete its mission, and it takes to the sky, as he thinks about how it's the only one he can count on. Ray notices the Night Slayer is still distracted, so she hits it with her Apocalypse and Catastrophe skills, but the decoy is about to disappear. So Rakuro rushes to her side, and tells her he will buy time for her since her skills are on cooldown. He fires a crystal bullet, but the Night Slayer dodges it, and it ends up hitting a pillar. He runs as it chases after him, and it's about to catch up, but he punches the pillar, and activates his gauntlet skill to make the crystal grow. The Night Slayer lunges at him, but it slams into the crystal, and as it continues to attack him, Ray thinks about how amazing he is, since he memorized its moves just by observing it. She warns him that the clouds are about to cover the moon again, but Suzaku powers up its boosters, and it flies through the clouds to get rid of them. Rakuro punches the Night Slayer in the face, and he tells Ray it's her chance to strike, so she slashes it with her Apocalypse, but it endures her attack and sends her flying. We see Akane in the Barrens, as Emil tries to convince her to stay in Rabbit Town, but she decides to look for Rakuro instead, because she knows him from another game. We return to Ray, as she realizes she can't dodge the Night Slayer's attacks, even though she saw Rakuro do it countless times. He charges at the Night Slayer and hits it with a flurry of attacks, but it completely ignores him, and heads straight for Ray. She runs away as she avoids its attacks, and she realizes she's in trouble, since her body is starting to feel heavy. Rakuro calls out to her, and she suddenly turns to fight the Night Slayer, as she realizes he would keep fighting if he were in her place. She prepares to attack it, but her body suddenly freezes, and its clone appears behind her, so she realizes it's all over for her. The Night Slayer bites her head off, and it starts to eat her body, but she suddenly turns into a log, and we learn that Akane used her substitution jutsu to save her. She's glad she has finally found Rakuro, but he doesn't recognize her, and Emil dives toward him, telling him they had to run there because a lot of things had happened. Sikru joins them, and he tells Rakuro about Akane, so Rakuro realizes she's the other player who unlocked the Rabbit unique scenario. The Night Slayer attacks Akane and Rei, so they get out of the way, but Rei asks Akane how she knows Rikuro, so she reveals that he's her mentor. The Night Slayer prepares to crush Rei, so Akane saves her again, and she's impressed since Akane's timing is perfect. Rikuro chases after the Night Slayer, which continues to attack Akane, and he's impressed that she can dodge its attacks. Sekiro reveals that the Sky Ruler acknowledged her skills, and Rikuro notices the marks on her face, which make him realize she was also cursed by a unique monster. He calls out to Akane and invites her to their party, as he tells her to look after Rei. She promises to do her best, but the Night Slayer lunges at Rei. Rikuro thinks it wants to get rid of her, since it knows about their plan, and he notes that they need to stop it from chasing her. Emil asks him what she can do to help, so he tells her to use her magic chain, and she restrains its leg, but it immediately breaks free. He hits it with a barrage of punches, but it ignores him once again, so he realizes he needs to do more to get its attention. Akane notes that his skill reminds her of his move in Berserk Online, so he realizes they've met before, and she reveals that she went by the name Dragonfly. He remembers how she found a new bug when he taught her how to play the game, and Rei realizes it's the reason she calls him her mentor. She transforms into her Satan form and strikes the Night Slayer with her catastrophe, but it immediately pushes her back. She realizes she has almost fulfilled the conditions for her ultimate move, but the Night Slayer's clone suddenly appears behind her, and it attacks her with its claws. So Akane uses her substitution to save her again, and they continue to run away. Rikuro is glad to have her in the party, since her technique is extremely useful, but she explains that she can no longer use it, since she's out of substitution logs. The Night Slayer throws a pillar to attack her, but Sekiro cuts it into pieces, and she thanks him for saving her. She tells Rikuro she's still at level 43, so she doesn't think she can do much, but he tells her it's fine, and thinks he needs to stop it from chasing Rei. Emil wonders if he has a plan, but he tells her he needs to check something first, and explains that he finds the Night Slayer strange, since it doesn't bleed like the other monsters. He tells her to use her spell called Mana Shaker, but she thinks it won't do anything, since it doesn't work on physical targets. He tells her to do it anyway, so she blasts the Night Slayer with her Mana Shaker, but she only grazes it, so she thinks she's screwed up. But he tells her she was able to do damage, which confirms that the Night Slayer is a creature made of pure magic. He finally gets its attention, and it starts to attack Emil, so he runs away with her, and she freaks out since she knows it wants to kill her. He dodges its attacks, and thinks she won't respawn if she dies, so he needs to do his best to protect her. He comes up with a plan, and tells her not to worry, since they'll end the fight in no time, and he tells the Night Slayer he also has an ultimate. But he realizes Suzaku is running out of fuel, so he orders it to deactivate its boosters. Rei lands another hit with her catastrophe, and realizes she only needs to strike the Night Slayer with her apocalypse one more time, but it starts to attack her, so Rikuro distracts it with his crystal bullet, while Emil restrains it with her magic chains. Rei realizes it's wide open, so she slashes it with her apocalypse, but it immediately breaks free and jumps away. Akane wonders if it dodged her attack, but she notes that the hit registered, so she's now ready to use her ultimate. She plants her sword to the ground, and she surrounds herself with dark energy as she prepares to use her strongest move. But Rikuro knows it has a long activation time, so he needs to protect her until she finishes her chant. He realizes the clouds are about to cover the moon again, since he ordered Suzaku to stand by, and he blames the RNG gods for the bad timing. He runs and tells Akane to be careful, since an invisible clone is about to attack from the darkness, but he thinks they must protect Rei, because she's their only shot at defeating the Night Slayer. She wonders if she should stop chanting to dodge its attack, but Akane tells her to keep going, and notes that they'll take care of the invisible clone. She listens closely and hears the clone moving in the shadows, so she burns it with her fireball jutsu, and we learn that her skill copies the breath of a dragon that the user has witnessed, but the only dragon she's ever seen is the Sky Ruler, so her flames are on another level. The clone survives the attack, and it charges at Rei, but Secret gets in its way, and summons bamboo spikes from the ground. It disappears as the spikes hit it, and Rei thinks they'll win the fight, since she's almost done with her chant. The Night Slayer charges at her, so Emil starts to panic, but Rikuro tells her not to worry since his ultimate is ready. He stops the Night Slayer with his crystal bullet, and Emil hits one of its legs with her Mana Shaker, while Suzaku uses the last of its gas to activate its boosters again. It dives toward the Night Slayer with its winged blade, which cuts through the Night Slayer's leg, The Night Slayer struggles to get back up, but Rakuro realizes it's regenerating, so he tells Emil to stand back, since he's about to use his ultimate. We learn that his right gauntlet absorbs moonlight to store mana, which the left one uses to fire crystal bullets. But he has another skill that consumes all of it and turns it into damage, and he charges up his right gauntlet as he prepares to use it. He reveals that it has a cooldown of 7 days, but he knows it can turn the battle in their favor, so he decides to use it against the Night Slayer. It's about to finish healing its leg, but Rakuro jumps to attack its head, and lands a devastating blow with his reject skill, which breaks the Night Slayer's jaw. But his gauntlet shatters from the impact, and he gets blown away. He survives thanks to his endure skill, and we learn that he expected to take recoil damage, since he knew about his ultimate's drawback. But he realizes he's about to die, since he'll take damage when he hits the ground. He thinks about escaping to the storage, but he knows it won't stop the momentum, so he'll just crash into something and die. He runs out of ideas, and thinks it's all over for him, but Emil pulls him back with her magic chain, while Akane and Secret catch him before he hits the ground. He survives the fall, so he thanks them for saving his life, and notes that the stage is set, so it's time for Rei to use her ultimate. She finally finishes her chant, and notes that it's time to put an end to everything, as she raises her sword to the sky. An insane amount of energy gathers above her, and they descend toward her sword, which absorbs them as she activates her Armageddon skill. The Night Slayer charges at her, so she hits it with everything she has, and her attack is so powerful that it creates a massive explosion, which destroys everything around her. Rakuro and the others can't believe how overpowered she is, and she unleashes a powerful shockwave as she cuts the Night Slayer in half. As the dust settles, Akane starts to celebrate, since she thinks nothing could survive against such an attack. But they realize the Night Slayer is still alive, and Rei reaches her limit, so Rakuro and the others rush to save her. It suddenly smiles at them and disappears, and they see a mysterious face staring at them, before it vanishes into thin air. They have no idea what just happened, but they realize it's finally over, and they receive combat rewards, so Akane thinks they won the fight. Rakuro knows it isn't the case, and as he looks at the title they've earned, he realizes the wolf they defeated was just another one of the Night Slayer's clones. He thinks the real Night Slayer was watching from a distance, and he's annoyed since they only beat a clone, but Rei tells him it's okay, since they're the only ones who have defeated it so far. She accidentally calls him by his last name, and he thinks the way she speaks sounds familiar, but he decides not to think about it, and tells everyone she has a point. He notes that he finally got his revenge on the Night Slayer, and everyone starts to celebrate, but the marks on his body suddenly start to release a dark energy. He thinks they're about to disappear, since he defeated the clone that cursed him, so he removes his helmet, and prepares to give them a proper send-off. But the energy suddenly transforms into the Night Slayer's head, and it eats him alive. His friends wonder if it's dispelling his curse, and it spits him out, but he realizes his marks are still there, and Emil thinks his curse got even stronger. He realizes the marks are given to those whom the Night Slayer wants to kill directly, and they can only be removed by defeating the real Night Slayer, so he starts to lose it. He learns that he can now wear equipment on the affected body parts, but the items will be destroyed after a set period of time, so he realizes he still needs to run around half naked. He tells the head to remove his curse, but it just smiles at him and disappears, so he falls into despair. His friends ask him what they should do about the unique scenario they unlocked, so he tells them to accept it, since he knows he can no longer keep it to himself. He realizes they also got a special status called Guiding Light, which will point them to the Night Slayer if they're close to it, so he thinks it will be easier to find it in the future. He thanks everyone for helping him defeat the Night Slayer's clone, and asks Rei about the area boss, since he wants to hunt it down. She tells him it can camouflage and fly, so he thinks he'll have a hard time defeating it, but notes that it shouldn't be a problem, since they have magic users in their party. She explains that the boss can control magic and steal weapons, so he realizes it's difficult to counter its abilities, but everyone's determined to take it down. A pillar suddenly crashes in front of them, and the boss appears, so everyone prepares to fight. The next day, we learn that they were able to defeat the boss, but Emil wakes up, and notes that she can't remember what happened. Everyone tells her they struggled against it, because after Rei used Armageddon, her stats have been halved for the whole day. Rakuro's gauntlets were also useless, since they were destroyed during their fight with the Night Slayer, so he used the Super Emil Cannon to defeat the boss. She wonders what kind of skill it was, but they refuse to tell her what happened, and Rakuro notes that there was nothing worth remembering. They reach the city of Ficticia, where the players gather to travel by sea, and Rakuro wonders why Akane wears a mask. She explains that she doesn't want people to see the Sky Ruler's mark, but we learn that the real reason is to hide her face, because she looks just like her avatar. Emil becomes excited when she sees a shop with spell books, but he tells her they don't have time to check it out, and thinks about the things he needs to do. Akane thinks Emil's human form is amazing, and she asks Sikru if he can also turn into a human, but he tells her not to talk to him since he's disguised as a box. They reach an alley, and Rakuro thinks it's the perfect spot to open a door to Rabbit Town, but he suddenly sees a strange old man. Rakuro thinks he's a fortune teller NPC, but Rei reveals that he's the Sage of Awakening, who appears when a player reaches level 99. She explains that he can teach the player the special subjob Arcanum, which boosts the player's stats, but it comes with a drawback. She notes that there are different kinds of Arcanum, and reveals that she has the World, which boosts all of her stats, but makes her vulnerable to spells and skills. Rakuro wonders if he gets to choose his Arcanum, so she explains that he can't, but notes that it won't be random, since his stat sheet will determine what he gets. He tells the Sage to give him the Arcanum challenge, so the Sage takes him to a strange area, where he sees a number of tarot cards. The Sage notes that his Arcanum will be determined by his destiny, and he takes one of the cards, which turns out to be the Fool. He returns to the others, and after his body absorbs the card, he realizes he now has the Fool as his subjob. He learns that it has the cooldown of his skills, so he thinks he hit the jackpot, but the Sage reminds him about the drawback. He realizes his healing items are no longer as effective, and he's now more vulnerable to debuffs, but he thinks it won't be a problem as long as he doesn't get hit. He celebrates since the Fool is perfect for his playstyle, and Rei notes that she expected him to get it, because the other players who quickly reached level 99 also received it. She thinks he's amazing since he reached the max level in just a month, but he asks her about the word extend, which is right next to his level. So she explains that it can only be achieved by defeating a monster over level 100, and notes that it removes the level cap. She can't believe he unlocked it alone, since she had to work with her clanmates to do it, but she's just happy she was able to spend time with him. He prepares to leave for Rabbit Town, and thinks he needs to move fast, since he still needs to meet Rust and Mold. We see Rust and Mold in an inn, and Rust thinks she needs to warm up, since she hasn't logged on for 6 months. Mold wonders if she couldn't sleep because she was thinking about the SLF robots, but she hits him and tells him they need to get going. We go back to 3 days after Rakuro and his friends defeated the Tomb Guard, and we see Katsuo at the lake, where he fights a serpent for XP. He smashes it in the head to defeat it, and reaches level 53, but he realizes he just got back to where he was before his fight with the Tomb Guard, and recalls how his level went down after he used the item Asha gave him. He looks at the scales dropped by the serpent, and thinks the quality of this game is insane, because the developers paid attention to even the smallest details. We learn that he decided to play SLF, because the latest installment of a popular fighting game is about to be released, and it will use the same engine as SLF. He knew the other pro gamers would play it in the world tournaments, and he wanted to stay ahead of them, so he decided to study the engine in advance. He wonders if he could have defeated the Tomb Guard if Rakuro weren't there, and he doesn't want to get left behind by his friends, so he's determined to get stronger. He catches a serpent, but realizes a giant crayfish killed it, and it starts to attack him. He charges in with his red spirit fist, but it stops his attack, and he recalls how Rakuro told him it's a rare enemy. Rakuro revealed that he only fought it once, and explained that he couldn't have defeated it without Emil, but he earned a lot of XP after he took it down. He was about to tell Katsuo how to defeat it, but Katsuo stopped him, because he wanted to find out for himself. Katsuo dodges the monster's attack, and thinks he'll beat Rakuro if he defeats it in a one-on-one fight, so he decides to go all out. We cut to Asha, who visits the Schwarz-Wolf headquarters, where a man shows her around, and we learn that she's 500 million in debt, because she spent a lot of money to defeat the Tomb Guard. She can't afford to buy anything, but she knows she needs a weapon to make money, so she decides to do what she does best. She visits the Schwarz-Wolf weapons store, but the shopkeeper doesn't trust her, and notes that he's only allowed to sell to special customers. But he realizes she's one of them, because the Schwarz-Wolf formed an alliance with her clan. She checks out the spears in the shop, but he keeps an eye on her, because he thinks she's up to something. She opens her inventory and realizes she's still 300 million in debt, but she has no regrets, because her goal in the game was to help Setsuna put the tomb guard to rest. After Setsuna disappeared, she didn't know what to do next, so she thought about quitting the game, but decided not to do it. She takes the spears she needs, and the shopkeeper asks her if she can afford them, but she lies that Rakuro found a unique scenario that will lead them to the Night Slayer. She claims that in exchange for the info, Saiger promised to pay for the weapons they need, so he prepares to contact her. But Asha tells him they're in a hurry, and notes that Saiger will scold him if he doesn't give her the weapons, and he thinks about what she would do to him, so he gives Asha what she wants, and she promises to return with good news. After that, Asha uses the flower pin she earned as a reward for defeating the tomb guard, and it points her to the west, so she thinks she'll find something there. She reaches the castle of the third town's archduke, but the shopkeeper suddenly calls out to her, and notes that he'll make her pay for lying to him, and she quickly runs away. He wonders why she enjoys causing trouble, and calls the bounty hunters to stop her since she's a player killer. But she explains that she has already atoned for her crimes, so she now has a good reputation. She realizes she's still enjoying the game, so she decides to keep playing it and look for the Bahamut Setsuna mentioned. We return to the present, as Kyogi heads to Utopia, and he prepares to talk to Ritsu and Sakuri, because the Night Slayer's shade has been defeated. He knows they'll fight again, but he isn't worried since he now has his digestive medicine, so he thinks he can stop them. He heads to Sakuri's room, and thinks Ritsu is already fighting her, so he tells them to stop, but he realizes they're on good terms. He tells them the Night Slayer's shade has been defeated, but Sakuri thinks it won't affect the story much, and notes that Rakuro worked with Rei and Akane to defeat it. Kyogi realizes she doesn't have a problem with it, because she knows that the Night Slayer's shade was defeated by capable players, but Ritsu wonders who buffed its stats without permission. Sakuri reveals that she did it because the Night Slayer was supposed to be smart enough to counter the player's moves, and the girls start to fight. Kyogi's stomach starts to bother him, so he takes his medicine to ease the pain, and tells the girls to stop. He tries to get between them, but they both end up hitting him, and he drops his medicine as he gets knocked out. Katsu receives a challenge from his rival, who wants to beat him in the global game competition, but he realizes he can't compete since his teammates are busy. He realizes he needs 2 skilled players to replace them, and decides to ask Rakuro and Asha to help him, since he knows how capable they are. We return to Rakuro's group, as Emil makes a door to Rabbit Town, and he thanks Rei for helping him clear the barrens. She's glad she was able to make progress, but wonders what she should tell her sister, because she knows her sister will cause trouble for Rakuro if she tells her the truth. He asks Akane what she'll do next, so she explains that she'll look around before she heads back to Rabbit Town, but Rei becomes nervous since she won't be able to follow them there. After he leaves, Akane prepares to walk away, but Rei stops her and notes that she has a question for her. Rakuro receives Katsu's invitation, and he realizes Katsu will pay for everything if he accepts it, but he doesn't know if he should help him. He asks for Asha's opinion, so she tells him she'll think about it, since it will put Katsu in their favor, and he thinks about accepting it, because it's his chance to meet his friends in real life. He returns to the game, and wears armor to test his curse, but Billick tells him to stop, because he doesn't want the armor to be destroyed. It breaks after 3 minutes, so Rakuro realizes he can only wear armor for that set period of time, but Billick becomes angry, and wonders why Rakuro tested his curse on armor he made. He explains that he wanted to test if the quality of the armor made a difference, but he learned that it doesn't matter how overpowered the equipment is, since the curse will still destroy it after 3 minutes. He thinks he can now use armors like buffs, but Billick tells him to be careful with the equipment he makes, and reveals that he has already repaired his gauntlets. Rakuro wants weapons enhancements and new armor, and promises to pay for them, but he tells Billick to make it fast, and Billick becomes angry since he's so demanding. After that, Rakuro heads to the shipyard, and wonders if Billick ripped him off, since the repairs and buffs cost him all of his money. He sees ruffians everywhere, and wonders why Rust and Mole chose the place as their meeting spot, and he reaches a bar, but a man suddenly comes flying out of the door. Rakuro asks him if he's okay, so he tells Rakuro to mind his own business, but he becomes scared when he sees the marks on his body. He sees Mold and Rust in the bar, and asks them why they beat up the NPCs, but Rust thinks he's one of them, so she rushes toward him. He dodges her attack, and Emma lands on her face, so she starts to panic. Mold calms her down, telling her Rakuro isn't an NPC, and she finally realizes who he is, but wonders why he looks like a freak. He tells them about the Nightslayer's curse, and Mold asks him about Emil, so he reveals that she's part of a unique scenario. He asks them about the Abyss quest they mentioned, so Mold explains that they came there to look for the NPC who gave them the quest, but they haven't been able to find him. Rust reveals that the last time they beat up the NPCs in the bar, the Great Pirate's messenger showed up, and led them to his master Stude, who gave them the unique scenario. Rakuro realizes it's the reason she beat up the NPCs earlier, and she thinks the messenger will be there soon, but Mold isn't so sure. A boy suddenly joins them in the bar, and he recognizes Rust and Mold, so Rakuro wonders if he's the messenger. But he reveals that he's actually the Great Pirate Stude, and Rakuro can't believe it since he's just a kid. Rust mentions that he's an annoying brat, but Rakuro isn't bothered by his behavior, since he met an even worse character in another game, who did everything to make the players' lives miserable. Stude bothers Rust and Mold, but he becomes frightened when he sees the marks on Rakuro's body, and Rakuro tells him he's there to help. He notes that his special skill allows him to break the Nightslayer's jaw, so Stude is glad to have him on the team, and promises to reward him if he completes the quest. He offers to show everyone his ship, and reveals that he wants to avenge his father by taking down the ghost ship the Crying Innsman, which sacrifices the people it captures to the Master of the Abyss. Rakuro accepts the unique scenario, and they follow Stude to his ship, as he reveals that his father boarded the Crying Innsman alone, to buy time for his men to escape. But he didn't make it out alive, so Stude wants to avenge him by destroying the Crying Innsman. He shows everyone his ship Scarlet Whale, and orders his men to ready everything, since they're about to leave. Rakuro wonders why the shipyard looks terrible, because the rest of the city looks amazing, so Mold explains that the workers rushed the housing in the area, so they could focus on building ships. Stude's men rush toward Rakuro with a special delivery, and they show him 2 giant barrels, but he has no idea what's inside them. After the men leave, Rakuro opens one of the barrels, but he freaks out when he sees Rei inside it. Akane and Secret come out of the other barrel, but they have no idea where they are, and Akane asks Rakuro what he's doing there, so he becomes even more confused. Akane reveals that she was staring at the boats, when she suddenly received the unique scenario, and she had no idea what it was about, but decided to accept it anyway. The pirates suddenly rushed toward her, and revealed themselves as the special delivery team, before throwing her into the barrel. Rakuro wonders how she received the quest, so Rei reminds him they're still in the same party, and he realizes he forgot to leave. Akane thinks she got the quest, because he accepted it as their party leader, so he realizes he's screwed up. Rust and Mold ask him what's happening, so he tells them he called his friends, but they know he's lying. So he tells them the truth, and explains that he can't tell the others to leave since he owes them. Mold thinks it's okay to have a bigger party, so Rakuro invites his friends to tag along, and Akane happily accepts. But Rei doesn't know what to say, since she's supposed to be with her sister. In a flashback to a few moments earlier, we see that Rei was ready to leave Rakuro's party, since she needs to go on a quest with her clan. Saiger tells her to hurry, so she tries to click yes, but accidentally accepts the unique scenario instead, and the pirates suddenly burst into the room and take her away. Back in the present, Rei thinks her sister will be angry if she goes with Rakuro, and he tells her she can still drop out, but she decides to join him, and promises to do her best for him. They board the ship, and leave to look for the Crying Innsman, as a sailor tells everyone to prepare for battle. Rakuro knows the ghost ship will appear during a storm, so he thinks it will be a tough fight, and wonders if the others can handle it. Emil asks him how they're supposed to fight a ghost ship, so he notes that there are monsters aboard, and Rei reveals that she talked to an NPC, who told her the monsters are like fishmen. Mold and Rust check out a ballista, since they want to learn how it works, and Rakuro notices their ship looks sturdy, so he thinks it won't go down even if it takes a beating. He decides to rest until the ghost ship appears, and Rei watches Rust, but realizes she isn't interested in Rakuro. Everyone sees a dark cloud forming from a distance, so the pirates realize the ghost ship is about to appear, and Stude struggles to remain calm, since he still remembers what happened to his father. The cloud covers the sky, and everyone can't see anything since it's pitch black, but lightning suddenly strikes the water, and the ghost ship emerges from the deep. A pirate prepares to fire the ballista, but Rakuro tells him not to fire yet, since they still aren't in range. Stude reminds Rakuro he's the captain, but Rakuro tells him he lacks courage and explains that he can't avenge his father if he's afraid. The ghost ship charges at them, and Rust realizes it plans to ram into them, but Stude decides to hit it head-on because he knows his ship is tougher. Everyone prepares for impact, and the ship smashes onto the Crying Inn's men, but the monsters suddenly jump aboard. One of them charges at Stude, but Rust shoots it down and tells him not to worry, since she'll kill the monsters that try to attack him. Ray cuts one of the monsters, but realizes it's still alive, since her stats are still weakened. Akane also can't kill a monster in one hit, since her level is too low, and she loses her balance, so the monster prepares to finish her off. But Secra saves her, and tells her to be more careful. Rakuro realizes his friends can handle the monsters, so he decides to board the ghost ship, but there are more fishmen that get in his way. Rust tells him she'll clear the path for him, and she takes out her bow, while Mole buffs her with his support magic. She launches her arrow, which sends the monsters flying, and they all fall into the water. Rakuro uses his mobility skill to jump up high, and he boards the ghost ship, but realizes there are monsters everywhere. He brings out his upgraded Empire B twin blades, and as he stabs one of the monsters, he realizes his corrosive poison has improved. Emil casts her magic edge to kill one of the monsters, but the fishmen just keep coming, and one of them jumps to attack him. He dodges with his mobility skill, and realizes his arcanum is super useful, since it allows him to spam his abilities. A couple of fishmen lunge at him, but Rust takes them out, and Mole tells him they've decided to join him, since his friends have almost wiped out the monsters on their ship. Mole asks him if he needs a buff, but he explains that buffs don't work on him because of his curse, and the monsters surround Rakuro and Rust. They wonder if the fishmen spawn infinitely, but an anchor suddenly flies toward them. The boss appears before them, and they think it's the captain of the ghost ship, so the fishmen might stop spawning after they defeat it. Stude sees a group of fishmen approaching, and a pirate tells him to retreat, but he decides to take them on, since he's there to avenge his father. Ray struggles to defeat a monster, so Akane helps her, and tells her they've wiped out the fishmen. But Ray thinks she's a burden, since she's weaker than normal. Another monster appears, and she thinks her stats are too low for her equipment, so she decides she needs to change it. We return to Rakuro, as Emil prepares to fight by his side, but he throws her to Mold, and tells them to support him from above. He brings out his new weapon Dekushram, the ascended form of his marsh daggers, and he rushes toward the boss. Its minions dive toward him, but he jumps past them, and hits the boss with a flurry of attacks. He's impressed by the Dekushram's durability, since it doesn't get damaged when he lands criticals, and he thinks he'll be able to survive longer battles with them. He jumps over the boss and slashes it from behind, but Stude boards the ghost ship, and Mole tells him he isn't supposed to be there. He notes that he can also fight, but the boss suddenly charges at him, and Rakuro realizes they'll fail the quest if he dies, so he rushes to save him. The boss is about to hit him, but Ray suddenly deflects the attack, and explains that she changed her equipment so she can now hold her own. Rakuro thanks her for babysitting Stude, who notes that he can take care of himself, but he panics as a monster attacks him, but Ray takes it out. Rakuro dodges the boss's attack, but he suddenly gets a strange feeling as Akane joins them, and he thinks it must be lag. He slashes the boss's leg and notices a delay, but he wonders if he's really lagging, since it's never happened before. The ocean suddenly starts to move, and everyone tries to hold on, as the ghost ship gets dragged into a whirlpool. Tentacles come out of the water, and Emil starts to panic, because she knows it's the abyss. The tentacles wrap around the ghost ship, as everyone wonders how they're supposed to defeat the abyss, and it pulls them into the water, as Rakuro receives a message that a bonus unique scenario is about to begin. Rakuro wakes up on the ocean floor, and he calls out to the others, but realizes he's all alone. He climbs the shipwreck and sees an underwater city, but realizes there are fish on the ground, and he thinks they're the monsters he fought earlier. He puts them in his inventory, and decides to look around the city, but he sees a timer, which makes him think he must complete the unique scenario within a week. He looks for save points, since he can't play for 7 days straight, and he wonders why all the houses are sealed from the outside. He senses danger, and thinks he must look for his friends before he does anything, so he calls out to them as he walks around. He sees someone running, and thinks it must be a monster, but he sees a horde of fishmen behind him, so he also starts to run. One of them catches up to him, so he cuts it down, and leaves a decoy to distract the others, but they completely ignore it. He realizes it's hard to get rid of them, but he thinks he can outsmart them, and uses his Gravity Zero skill to jump around. He reaches the top of a building, and realizes they can't catch him, since they don't know how to climb. He starts to walk away, but sees the creature he saw earlier, and he prepares to take him on. The creature Arba explains that he isn't a monster, and Rakuro realizes he's wounded, so he wonders if the monsters attacked him. They realize the fishmen are starting to climb the wall, so Rakuro gives Arba a healing potion, and they continue to run away. He thinks Arba is an event NPC, so he believes he can learn a lot from him, and Arba tells him to keep his voice down, since he attracted the fishmen while he was calling out to his friends. They hide in one of the houses, and Rakuro wonders why the fishmen attacked Arba, since he thinks they're all the same. But he tells Rakuro not to compare him to them, and reveals that he's a proud merman. Rakuro realizes they're in a safe zone, and thinks he can use any building to log out after he loses the fishmen, but they suddenly hear mermaids singing. Rakuro thinks they look amazing, but Arba covers his ears, and tells him not to let his guard down. He realizes their song is a debuff, but it has no effect on him because of his curse, so he comes out to fight them. One of them raises her voice, but he tells her their debuffs don't work on him, and he jumps to attack her. She dodges his blade, but he uses his fleet float to change direction, and he manages to cut her neck. He takes damage as he lands on the ground, so he drinks a healing potion, but his health barely recovers because of his arcanum. The mermaids rush toward him, so he prepares to defend himself, but Arba suddenly bites one of them. He challenges the others to fight him, but they swim away, and Rakuro praises his fighting style. But he reveals that he lost his weapon in the city, and asks Rakuro if he saw a sword on his way there. He explains that he didn't, and notes that he was attacked after he landed on the seafloor. But Arba tells him the seafloor is actually above them, and reveals that they're in an inverted city created by the Abyss. He explains that the Abyss has the power of inversion, which it used to create fishmen and zombies, and it's so powerful that it can even overturn death. Rakuro isn't sure if they can defeat the Abyss, so he wants to keep the NPCs safe before he fights it, and Arba explains that the only way to leave the city is to give the Abyss a good show. He reveals that it brings people there since it's bored, and notes that it enjoys watching them struggle, so Rakuro wonders how they're supposed to entertain it. He asks Arba about the towers in the city, so he reveals that there are generals inside them, who have the power to seal abilities, and Rakuro thinks he'll trigger an event by defeating them. Arba notes that his grandfather is the only merman who has ever left the city alive, and reveals that he stabbed the Abyss's left eye to escape, so Rakuro realizes his family has a history with the Abyss. Arba asks him if he has a plan, so he explains that he wants to explore the city, but he suddenly calls out to his friends. The monsters hear him, and Arba thinks he's crazy, but he sees Emil rushing toward him, so he realizes it worked. He rushes to meet her, and Arba panics since the monsters are following them, but he tells Arba not to worry, because the mermaids can't sing while they're moving. He realizes Emil is with Stude, but she tells him there's something behind her, and a dragonfish suddenly appears, so they quickly run the other way. We learn that Emil accidentally summoned it, because she has a skill called Random Encounter, which calls forth a high-level monster whenever she's in danger. Everyone realizes they're surrounded on both sides, so they run into an alley, but the monsters continue to pursue them. The dragonfish attacks with its energy breath, and it almost hits them, so Rakuro tells Arba to lead Emil and Stu to the safe zone, while he buys time for them to escape. Emil suddenly runs out of mana, so she returns to her rabbit form and crashes to the ground, and the dragonfish prepares to eat her. But Seekru summons his bamboo spikes to pin it to the wall, and Rust shoots down a couple of the fishmen. Rakuro is glad he found another player, but Arba tells him it's too early to celebrate, because the monsters are still coming after them. Arba runs away with the other NPCs, but Rust thinks he's a monster, so she prepares to shoot him, but Rakuro tells her he's on their side. The dragonfish breaks free, and it continues to chase them, so Rust tells him to summon his robot to defeat it. He explains that he can't, since it's still out of power, but he promises to show it to her if she protects the NPCs, so she tells him she'll do her best. He creates a decoy to distract the dragonfish, but he realizes its body is glitching, and he smiles since he has figured out its weakness. He hits it with a barrage of attacks, and he knows he's dealing a lot of damage, but it doesn't even flinch since it's extremely tough. He notices it swims through the sky like the mermaids, as it takes out the fishmen in its path. But he knows he can defeat it, because its movements are predictable, and the fishmen have already poisoned it. He jumps around to dodge its attacks, and stabs it in its weak spot, as he thinks about how it could have killed him if they were in the ocean. But it's no match for him since they're in the underwater city, where he can move as he does on land. We cut to Akane, as she sees explosions in the city, and decides to check them out. But she suddenly runs into Mold, and they think they'll meet the others if they head to the explosions, so they head there together. Rakuro avoids the dragonfish's attack, and he knows it's already at its limit, so he uses Fleet Float to jump toward it, and stabs it in the head to finish it off. Its body disappears as its HP reaches 0, and he thinks he couldn't have one without his Decusrum, since it's so durable that it outlasted the dragonfish. Akane and Mold are glad they finally found him, and they wonder what he was fighting, so he tells them about the dragonfish, but notes that it won't show up in this city again. He explains that the others are waiting at the safe zone, but notes that he still hasn't seen Rei, so he wonders if they should wait for her. The buildings are suddenly repaired, and Akane and Mold wonder how it happened, but Rakuro knows the Abyss used its power to fix them. Rakuro and his friends meet at the safe zone, and Russ tells him to show her the robot, so he summons Suzaku, but it can't move since it's out of power. She still thinks it looks amazing, and notes that SLF is the best game ever, since it has robots. Rakuro thinks Rei will be fine, since she's a skilled player, and he tells the others they have 7 days to complete the quest, so they need to see when they're all free. He realizes his friends have different schedules, so they decide to just meet on the last day, and he tells them he won't be available for the next 2 days, since he needs to compete in the GGC. He tells Emil and Arba to take care of everything while he's gone, and notes that he needs to log out, but he'll meet everyone on the 7th day, so they can work together to defeat the Abyss. The next day, we see Rakuro on a train, as he makes his way to Katsu, and he creates a group chat for his party, but he can't add Rei since he doesn't have her on Instagram. He thinks about how he also can't message Asha and Katsu, since they don't want to mix up their private and work accounts, so he uses his email to keep in touch with them. He recalls that Katsu promised to pay for his travel expenses, so he wonders what kind of room Katsu has prepared for him, and hopes it isn't too cheap. He arrives at the meeting place, but is surprised to see it's a luxury hotel, and the staff shows him the room Katsu reserved for him. He can't believe how beautiful it is, and sees an advanced full dive system, which is worth millions of yen, so he starts to lose it. He wonders if Katsu is playing a prank on him, but he tells Rakuro he'll drop by with Asha and their other teammate. Asha knocks at the door, but he becomes nervous since he's never met her in person, and he knows that in their group, he's the only one who isn't popular, so he decides to do something extraordinary. She wonders why he's taking so long, and he finally opens the door, but she finds him wearing a gas mask. We cut to Katsu, who tells his teammate Megumi that they're about to meet his friends, but she wonders if they'll be able to keep up, so he vouches for their skills, and tells her they're the real deal. Katsu and Megumi meet them, but they see Asha laughing at Rakuro, since he's using a gas mask to hide his face. She asks Katsu about Megumi, so he introduces her as his teammate, and notes that they'll be facing the top team in America, but he thinks they can beat them. They head to Rakuro's room to discuss their strategy, and Katsu shows everyone the enemy team Star Rain, but his friends think they look like meatheads. Asha notes that the girl in the middle looks cute, so Katsu reveals she's Sylvia, the best fighting game player in America. He notes that she made her debut 5 years ago, and scored a flawless victory against all of her opponents, so she immediately became famous. Star Rain was formed within the year, and she served as its anchor, as she continued to crush her opponents in the years that followed. Asha and Rakuro think she's OP, and Megumi notes that she also has elite teammates, which is why her team is unbeatable. Megumi thinks they can't beat Star Rain with their current team, since Rakuro and Asha are amateurs, but Katsu tells her it's their chance to beat Sylvia, since his friends play SLF. He reveals that the first game they'll play is called Galaxia Heroes, and notes it isn't in the stores yet, so no one has played it before. He mentions that the characters are from the Galaxia comics, but his friends note that they didn't read the comics that he gave them, so he tells them that the characters and setting are important. He notes that their fight against Star Rain is an exhibition match, which everyone will watch as a live demo, but Asha wonders how it's connected to SLF. So Megumi explains that it uses the SLF engine, since it was developed with the help of Utopia. Katsu thinks the members of Star Rain have never played SLF, and he reveals that the match is in 2 days, so they don't have enough time to learn the game's system. But Megumi still thinks his friends can't beat Star Rain, so he tells her he has faith in their skills. He thanks them for showing up, and Megumi decides to trust them, but notes that she wants to fight them to test their skills, since Katsuo spoke so highly of them. After that, Megumi asks Katsuo if he thinks his friends can beat her, so he notes that it could go either way, since they've never played Galaxia heroes before, but he tells her to beat them, so that he can make fun of them after they lose. Rakuro uses the VR chair, and thinks his headgear is nothing compared to it, since it allows him to move his avatar with his instincts. We learn that he used it to test the game, and realized it was like playing SLF. He goes over the characters he enjoyed using, and the first one is a samurai named Ranzo, who has a playstyle similar to his character in SLF. The second one is Cursed Prison, a villain who absorbs everything around him to strengthen his armor, but his agility suffers as his armor gets stronger. The next one is Matthias, who relies on his super speed to control the fight, but he slows down whenever he makes sharp turns, and he needs to avoid getting hit since his armor is weak. The character Twinkle Pixie looks like a cute little fairy, but she's actually a master at close combat, and she relies on her staff to execute her combos. The last character, Cyborg Lord, relies on his projectiles and dash moves to defeat his enemies, but he's useless at close range, so the player needs to be good at zoning. Rakuro receives a message from Megumi, who tells him it's time for their match, so he prepares to take her on. They both log into the game, and we learn that it's different from the other fighting games, because the heroes and villains need to play their roles to tip the balance in their favor. Rakuro plays as Ranzo, and saves a mother and child from being crushed, so he earns points for his heroic gauge. He looks forward to seeing Megumi, who's playing as the villain Igdria, and we see her earn villain points as she threatens a group of civilians. We learn that the players can use their hero and villain points to perform special moves, but they can also spend a full gauge to create a chaos cube, which will spawn randomly on the map. The player who finds it wins the game, so it's possible to secure victory without fighting, and Rakuro thinks Katsuo told him to read the comics, since it's easier to come up with tactics if he knows his character. Rakuro sees Megumi, and recognizes her character as a mid-range fighter, who specializes in traps and counters. She attacks him with her trap seeds, but he easily dodges all of them, because he knows they only move in a straight line. He jumps to the side, but she follows up with a perfectly timed attack, and Rakuro knows he can't dodge it, so he uses his swords to deflect it. He rushes forward and immediately closes the distance, but she tells him he fell for her trap, and uses her ultimate to surround him with her plants. They destroy everything as they emerge from the ground, and she thinks she got him since her timing was perfect. But she realizes he's up in the sky, and she can't believe that he dodged her. He admits that it would have hit him if her ability hadn't taken time to activate, but he saw her plants coming, so he had enough time to jump away. He charges in with his ultimate, so she tries to block it, but still takes a lot of damage. He prepares to finish her off before she can recover, but he notices she's up to something, so he jumps back and explains that her tactics won't work on him. He knows she's just pretending to be wide open, but she's actually setting up for a counter, and he tells her it's useless since he can see right through her. She swings away as she attacks him, and realizes she's out of villain points, so she decides to fill up her gauge, but he knows what she's up to. He realizes she has a calculating playstyle, which is why she chose a character that specializes in counters, so he decides to throw her off her rhythm. He launches one of his swords to stop her, and immediately dashes toward her, so she defends herself, but he jumps to recover his sword. She throws a car at him, but he cuts it into pieces with his ultimate, and she pushes them away as they fall toward her, but she realizes he's hiding behind one of them. He prepares to finish her off, as she realizes he fights like Sylvia, who builds momentum with every move, and forces her opponent to make difficult decisions. After that, Megumi tells Katsuo she lost the fight, because she couldn't keep up with Rakuro's moves. She admits that his skills are amazing, and notes that his playstyle reminds her of Sylvia. He explains that he knows how to defeat Rakuro, but he only beats him 60% of the time, and Megumi can't believe it, because he has an 80% win rate against other pro gamers. He asks her if she has already fought Asha, so she explains that she hasn't, because Asha wanted to fight Rakuro first. Megumi wonders if she's better than Rakuro, so Katsuo explains that she isn't as skilled, but she's dangerous since she fights dirty. Rakuro appears with Asha, but we see that he's angry, because she beat him with her dirty tactics. He calls her a monster, and reveals that she took thousands of NPCs hostage, but Megumi wonders why she would do that. She explains that she knew they would flock to him when they saw him, and when they all begged him to save them, she realized he was wide open, so she crushed him along with the NPCs. Katsuo challenges Rikuro to play against him, and Rikuro notes that he wants to try other characters, but Katsuo tells him to use Matthias and fight with everything he's got. They log into the game, and as Rikuro runs around the city, he hears a girl screaming for help. He realizes an NPC villain is threatening her, and we learn that villains spawn in hero versus hero matches so that the players can earn hero points. He kicks the villain away, so the girl thanks him for saving her, and he runs to look for Katsuo. He sees Katsuo waiting for him, and realizes he chose a hero named Armed Lava, a close-range fighter who can melt things to create projectiles. Rikuro charges at Katsuo from behind, but he blocks the attack, and Rikuro takes damage because of his lava armor. Katsuo reveals that he heard him approaching because his character makes a sound whenever he runs, and he realizes he needs to avoid Katsuo's lava armor since it might burn his legs. He runs past him and attacks from behind, but Katsuo still manages to block it and prepares to fire his molten shot. Rikuro runs around him and charges at him from behind, but he turns around and aims his weapon, and Rikuro gets in his range. But Rikuro wonders why he hasn't fired yet and realizes he has changed his stance. Rikuro prepares to kick him, but notices he's ready to shoot with his left arm, and he fires his molten shot. Rikuro barely manages to avoid it, and he sweeps Katsuo to take him down, but he counters and gets back on his feet. He realizes his strategy won't work against Sylvia, so he asks for a timeout, but Rikuro doesn't hear him and kicks him away. After that, Katsuo tells Rikuro the match doesn't count, and they start to argue, but Asha wonders why Katsuo wanted Rikuro to use Matthias. So he shows everyone his first match against Sylvia, where he used Armed Lava against her Matthias. In a flashback to 3 years ago, Katsuo prepares to fight Sylvia, and he knows she's the strongest pro gamer, so he wants to defeat her. We learn that he's studied her playstyle, so he knows her reaction speed is insane, but he's confident that he has what it takes to take her on. The crowd goes wild as the match begins, and Sylvia immediately charges in, but Katsuo grabs onto her and slams her to the ground. He prepares to finish her off, but she suddenly kicks him away and starts to beat him up. He tries to fight back, but she blocks his attack and sends him flying, and she overwhelms him with her rapid kicks. Her heroic gauge maxes out, so she uses her ultimate to finish him off, and the fans cheer as she wins the match. Katsuo realizes he was no match for her, but she praises him for putting up a good fight, and notes that he got her down to half health. He tells her he won't give up, and promises to surpass her, so she looks forward to fighting him again. Back in the present, Rikuro realizes Sylvia's fighting style is similar to his, but he admits that she's better than him, so he thinks Katsuo can't defeat her. Katsuo reveals that he continued to study her after she crushed him, but she kept changing her strategy and character, and his record against her is now 8 losses and a draw. Rikuro realizes he's determined to beat her, so he promises to do his best to help him, and notes that he also wants to crush Star Rain, because everyone will laugh at them if they lose to a group of misfits. After that, Rikuro heads to a convenience store, where he buys energy drinks, since he wants to play all night. He sees Sylvia talking to the cashier, and she tells him she wants real coffee, but he has no idea what she means. Rikuro tells him she wants black coffee, so he tells her to wait while he prepares her order, and she thanks Rikuro for helping her. He doesn't recognize her since she's wearing a mask, and she tells him she likes the energy drink that he picked, but notes that the ones in Japan are weak since they don't have enough caffeine. She looks at an SLF poster, so he wonders if she's also a gamer, but the cashier gives her order, and she excitedly runs off, while Rikuro thinks about how she looked like Sylvia, but he thinks he's just imagining it. Sylvia heads to the hotel, and she wonders if Rikuro is also a gamer, since he was buying so many energy drinks. As she enjoys her coffee, she suddenly receives a call from her teammate, who tells her it's time for their practice, but she explains that she can't join them since she needs to recover from her jet lag. But after she ends the call, she uses the VR chair, and notes that she wants to give SLF a try. We cut to Rikuro, who wants to come up with a game plan to defeat Star Rain, but he can't concentrate, so he decides to play another game to clear his head. He uses the VR chair to download SLF, and logs in with his biometrics and password, but he decides to play for only an hour, since he still needs to practice for GGC. Rikuro returns to the safe zone, and notices furniture in the room, so Arba reveals that Akane placed them earlier. Rikuro realizes she has already logged out, and he sees that the other NPCs are sleeping, but Emma is about to wake up, so he makes her go back to sleep. He thinks it was a close call, since he knows she won't stop bothering him if she sees him, and he heads outside, but he's surprised to see that the city is peaceful at night. Arba notes that he won't stop him from exploring the city, but warns him to be careful, because a king rules over the city at night. Rikuro looks around, and realizes the fishmen have turned into regular fish, but he sees that one of them is acting strangely. He realizes it's confused, because it lost its sense of balance after it entered the range of the abyss's inversion, and he thinks about how the city inversion works. But a dragonfish suddenly appears, and he realizes it's coming from outside. He prepares to take it on, but another monster suddenly bites it, and smashes it to the ground. He rushes toward it, and realizes it's stronger than the dragonfish, so he thinks it's the king Arba mentioned. Its fin starts to glow, and it creates a blinding flash of light, as it electrocutes the dragonfish to death. Rikuro can't believe it killed the dragonfish in just one bite, but he wants to use it for his experiment, so he calls out to it, and notes that he'll take the dragonfish as meat. It starts to attack him, so he runs away, and it destroys the buildings as it chases after him. He recalls how the abyss fixed the damaged buildings, and we learn that he's experimenting to find out what triggers the repairs, since it will help him learn more about the city. He plans to lead the king to one of the towers, since he wants to find out what will happen if it's destroyed, but he realizes the king is about to use its lightning, so he runs into an alley. He avoids the lightning, but realizes it has an area of effect, since it's destroying everything around him. The king suddenly bursts through the wall, and attacks Rikuro with its fin, which destroys the house behind him. But we see that he was able to dodge it, and he realizes he's survived thanks to the VR chair, since its response time is on another level. The king continues to pursue him, so he runs toward the tower, but it fires its energy breath, which destroys everything in its path, and we see a shockwave as it hits the tower. Rikuro teleports to the storage, and realizes he almost died because of the aftershocks, so he drinks a potion to recover his health. He returns to the city, and realizes the tower is still standing, even though it took a direct hit. He wonders if it's indestructible, but the king suddenly attacks him, and he realizes it was waiting for him to return. It comes in to eat him, but Arba suddenly saves him, and he can't believe Rikuro picked a fight with the king. He suggests retreating, since he thinks it's unbeatable, but Rikuro looks at the city, and thinks he has figured out how to defeat the king. Arba knows it's an aggressive fighter, so it won't stop chasing its prey, and he realizes they have no choice but to fight it. Rikuro wonders how he can swim in the air, so he explains that he just learned it recently, when he realized the air was filled with water, but he reveals that only those used to swimming in the ocean can do it. He wonders how Rikuro plans to defeat the king, so he notes that when he looked down from above, he realized that the tower reflected the energy breath, since there was another trail of destruction. Arba tells him he's right, since he saw how the tower reflected it, and he realizes Rikuro plans to reflect the king's energy breath to defeat it. He explains that it's difficult to pull off, and Rikuro admits he can't do it alone, which is why he needs Arba to help him. He tells Arba about his plan, and Arba thinks it's insane, since it could get them both killed, but Rikuro explains that it's the only way to defeat the king. Arba decides to go with it, and Rikuro notes he's ready, so Arba lets him go, and he activates his mobility skills to jump around. He realizes the king is right behind him, but thinks everything's going according to his plan, and he recalls how it waited for him to return when he went to his storage. He thinks he needs to outsmart its AI to defeat it, so he creates a decoy, which keeps it distracted, while he runs to hide in an alley. He teleports to the storage, and hopes Arba does his part, since they need to get the king in position for their plan to succeed. Arba calls out to the king, so it stops waiting for Rikuro and swims after him. Rikuro returns to the city, and he immediately runs to the tower, as he prepares to get in position. He uses his gravity zero to climb it, and sees a creature in the tower, which he thinks is one of the generals Arba mentioned. But he decides to ignore it for now, since he needs to focus on his plan. He reaches the tower's midpoint, and sees the part that reflects the attacks, so he calls out to Arba, and tells him to swim toward the tower. The king sees Rikuro, so it rushes toward him, and charges up its energy breath. He thinks he needs to teleport to the storage at the right time, but he knows the plan will fail if his timing is off, so he needs to focus on getting it right. The The king unleashes its energy breath, and it's about to hit him, but he teleports away just in time. The attack hits the tower, which stops it and sends it right back to the king, and Arba can't believe their plan worked. The king crashes to the ground, and Rakuro returns to the tower, but he tells Arba it's too early to celebrate since the king is still alive. He dives toward it, but realizes his blades can't cut through its skin, so he equips his gauntlets and hits it with his barrage. He thinks he needs to hit it as hard as he can, so he thinks about the princess from Feria and goes berserk as he channels his hatred for her. The king's flames start to burn him, but he thinks he'll lose his chance if he lets up, so he jumps to the sky and smashes it in the head to finish it off. It knocks him back, but Arba catches him, and they realize the king is about to meet its end, but it suddenly starts to release fire. They realize it's up to something, and it burns everything around it, but we see that they survive by taking cover behind Rakuro's crystal. The king's body disappears, and Rakuro grabs its drop, thinking he'll be able to sleep well. But he realizes he lost track of time and ended up playing all night. The next day, we see that Sylvia's teammates are upset since she didn't join them for their training, and she explains that she woke up late because she played SLF all night. She orders 4 steaks to eat, explaining that she needs calories to prepare for her training, and her teammate tells her their enemy, the Nitro Squad, has 2 unknown players. But she thinks it doesn't matter, since Katsuo is the only real threat. We cut to Rakuro, as he apologizes to the others for waking up late, and he tells them he's hungry. But Katsuo explains that they're in a hurry, so he should just eat after their meeting. Megumi gives him a chocolate bar, so he thanks her for her kindness, but Katsuo notes that he and Asha haven't registered their names yet. Rakuro tells Katsuo to just put anything as his name, but Asha explains that she needs to hide her identity because she thinks the fans will go crazy if they see her. Rakuro also wants to hide his identity, so she invites him to cosplay with her and explains that it's better to wear a full costume instead of just hiding their face. She reveals that she has already ordered costumes for them, and he tells her he hasn't agreed to anything, but she explains that he can't reject her idea since he's always late for their meetings. Katsuo comes up with ridiculous names for them, but they don't like it, and they decide to just go with no face and no name. He suddenly receives a call from his boss, and he becomes upset as he receives new orders, but his boss hangs up on him. Megumi wonders what happened, so he explains that he can't join the GGC match, because his sponsor wants him to compete in the Ruins Warhounds World Tournament. She wonders why he was ordered to participate in it, because the game is a first-person shooter. So he explains that he played an FPS game in front of his sponsor and ended up showing off his skills. Asha checks the schedule and realizes the world tournament will start an hour earlier than their exhibition game, but Katsuo notes that the tournament will take 3 hours, so he won't make it to their match. Rakuro thinks he can make it for the last game, and suggests that they make him their anchor so that he'll be the last one to play. He explains that the time limit for each round is 10 minutes, and the first player to win 2 rounds secures victory, so if they can make their games last longer, Katsuo will have enough time to join them. He thinks the plan is crazy, and reminds Rakuro they're up against America's top team, but Rakuro tells him not to give up, since it's his chance to defeat Sylvia. Asha explains that the plan is hard to pull off, since they can't afford to screw up, but she thinks they can make it work, and notes that they can buy 3 hours for Katsuo if they keep the fans entertained. Megumi promises to do her part, and Katsuo thinks about how he's always wanted to beat Sylvia, so he decides to go with the plan. That evening, Katsuo asks his friends why they're going so far just to help him, but they just tell him to remember to treat them after the game. We learn that he felt lousy after his boss gave him his new order, but he's now fired up since his friends are there to support him. The next day, the fans gather for the exhibition game, but Katsuo is surprised to see that Sylvia isn't the enemy's anchor. Everyone realizes it will be harder to pull off the plan, since they expected him to fight her in the final match, but Asha notes that they should all just do their best. He gives Rakuro his favorite energy drink, so he becomes excited, and he tells Katsuo not to worry, since they'll buy time for him to join the match. The host announces that the exhibition game is about to start, and everyone cheers as the Star Rain makes their entrance, while the commentator notes that Sylvia has never lost a fight. The Nitro Squad also makes their entrance, but everyone wonders why Rakuro and Asha are wearing costumes, and Asha notes that it's time to put on a show. Rakuro is impressed since she knows how to command a stage, but Megumi is embarrassed since she's the only one without a costume. We learn that Rakuro is cosplaying as Mercenary Jack, a popular antihero from an FPS game, while Asha is dressed as a lady knight, who goes by the alias Nameless. The host wonders why Katsu isn't with them, but Asha tells her to go on without him, since he's just in the restroom. The host announces the start of the exhibition game, so the crowd goes wild, and everyone's excited to see what will happen, since Sylvia's undefeated streak is on the line. But that's where this video ends. Remember to like and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.